think it's important to see both the good and the bad of talent. My name is Audra Winter. I am the creator of the world of Guardian. I'm the author of a book called The Age of Scorpius. I just saw close to 6,000 books come in on a semi-truck, and they are on their way to my apartment right now because I sold all of them. I'm literally living through my worst nightmare and my biggest heartbreak. I am going to be redoing this book.
Audra Winter is now seeking $70,000 in investment from angel investors.
It takes one negative video to spin it out of control.
Do you have any idea how fixated I have been on the Audra Winter drama? It has overtaken my whole life, and I will talk about it to anybody who will listen, willingly or not. So I thought I would stop torturing the people in my real life and talk to you guys about it instead. So today we're talking about Audra Winter, who has been in a lot of drama recently because of the release of her, what she's calling her debut novel, The Age of Scorpius, which is the introduction into the world of Guardian. She was completely primed for success. She had thousands of pre-orders, which is unheard of for an indie author, and especially for a debut indie author. Thousands of pre-orders on a book nobody had read anything from. But when the book released, it was really bad. There's no other way to say it besides that. The book was really, really bad, and people wanted a refund. People were calling her a scammer. People were saying that this was just a whole big ruse to get money. There's been a lot of theories going around. She's had to make a lot of statements, make a lot of changes, and now she has come up with a new plan to make the book better. It's a bigger mess than you think it is. If you haven't heard about the situation and if you haven't been keeping up with it, trust me when I say that little introduction I've given you there, it doesn't even like scratch the surface of how wild this whole thing is. So we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about her. We're going to see what Audra has to say. Now, as for me personally, you guys might know, if you know me, one of the reasons why this has fascinated me so much, terrified me so much, just been something I can't look away from, is because my debut independent novel comes out this year as well. It's coming out in November, and when this situation first started with Audra, I will admit it scared me. I think it scared a lot of indie authors because what it looked like, without digging into it, right, was that there was a girl, 22 years old. She had been working on this book for years. Her dream came true. The book came out. She had thousands of pre-orders, made tons of money from it, got loads of people who were really excited for the book, went TikTok viral, which is something that all authors aspire to, whether they admit it or not. You want to go viral on TikTok. And then the backlash was swift. It had the worst reviews imaginable, and it just seemed like a nightmare. And the reason why this was so scary was because to me it seemed like Audra really, really, really thought that her book was good, but it wasn't. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, I just am not beating around the bush. Like, that's not to say that she couldn't write a good book, just this was not well written. So for me and many other indie authors, it seemed like, oh my god, like, what if we think our books are great and then they're actually like awful and this happens to us? But there's a couple of differences. You'll see the differences when we get into it, as we get into it. But for a start, let's have a look at Audra's TikTok account, which is where all this happens. So you can see she's now under the name The World of Guardian LLC. We'll get into that as well. 22-year-old author and entrepreneur, The World of Guardian LLC, anti-AI human team. And she has a lot of TikToks. If you scroll back really far.
Hi, my name is Audra Winter. I am the creator of The World of Guardian,
Clicked that by mistake, but here you go.
World that I have been working on for over a decade now, and the author of a book called The Age of Scorpius, which is the first book set in that world. I am going to be talking today about magic in the world of Guardian because this is a high fantasy world, and in fact it's actually a futuristic Earth, and I'll go into that in a second here.
That was a good accidental click. It could have been something else, but that gave you an introduction of a little bit about the book. So you can see, like, she gets good views on TikTok, right? At the beginning of her journey, pretty quickly, she was getting like a couple million views. At some point, her content kind of wasn't doing as well, as you can see, and she switched somewhat to pity marketing. Like, she had this day one of attempting to get a viral video before the TikTok ban so I can publish my TikTok famous novel. Day two, something else. Where is it? Day 3. Like, it goes on like that. Before I move on, though, I want to share something with you guys, because when I'm not spending my time reading or writing or obsessively watching videos about the Audra Winter drama, there is one thing you will find me doing, and that is something that has become an even bigger obsession than this situation. That is a game called Midas Merge, and I want to say a thank you to them for sponsoring today's video. In this game, you merge creatures and treasure to heal an overgrown garden that has been cursed by the goddess of the night. And throughout the game, you work with King Midas to restore the gardens of gold. It's a fun story, I love it, but even without the story itself being really cool and interesting, the creatures that you are merging in this game are the cutest things that I have ever seen in my life. I love them so much, they are adorable. So when you merge different creatures together, you can create new creatures, and they're all unique and one of a kind, and I haven't even seen them all yet, but I am so excited to see more of them. The very best part of all of this, though, is that Midas Merge is free to play, free to download, has no ads, no interruptions, and you can even play it offline. It's just uninterrupted merging fun with really, really cute little animals in this garden. And right now, my loves, Midas Merge has something really cool to offer you guys, and I think you'll be excited about this, because I am. If you are one of the first 100 people to download the game through the link in my description or by scanning the QR code on screen, you will get an exclusive in-game creature. That creature is a mox fox that will be personalized with my name on it. Isn't that so cool? So the first 100 people to download with my link or with my QR code, you will get a mox fox with my name, and I think that is so cool. So click the link, scan the code, and if you do download the game, then tag me in whatever you hatch, because I would love to see it. This game is so fun. I genuinely love it. Like, it is such a good time, and it's cute and it's relaxing, so definitely check it out. Thank you so much to Midas Merge for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get on with the rest of it. So there's a whole story of how Audra started out. She claims that she has 10 years of writing experience. Now, this is something that is very much in debate, because when she says she has 10 years of writing experience, she doesn't mean she has 10 years professional experience or she's been writing books for 10 years. What she means is that she started writing when she was 12, and she has been working on this one specific world for 10 years in her brain, rewriting stuff in this world, not, you know, practicing specific methods of writing, learning about the craft of writing, not writing anything different or challenging herself to write something different, not doing anything professional work, not trying to submit anything to journals, anything like that, which I'm not saying you have to do any of that stuff. I don't have anything that's been published in journals. I have submitted. Not very much, though.
My name is Audra Winter. I'm a 22-year-old author who has been working on my series and my world for 10 years, and we're going to talk about this today. We're also going to talk about Malcolm Gladwell's theory of 10,000 hours to mastery. If you are not familiar what that is a theory, obviously, by Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers. Super, super good book. I highly recommend it. I read it in high school, and I'm willing to bet some people watching this video might have also read it in high school. He states that writing is a developed skill. It is not a natural-born talent. And in order to achieve mastery, he says that one must spend 10,000 hours. I have achieved mastery according to Malcolm Gladwell's theory. For reference, I am an autistic individual, and my special interest is this world. I don't write to publish. I write to develop this world that I have been working in for 10 years since I was 12 years old, with the same characters, with storylines that have branched off from one another, and every single night since I was 12 years old, I have written for at least 3 hours. That is not an exaggeration. That is not making stuff up. That is genuinely how I go to sleep at night. Usually I spend more than 3 hours writing. Sometimes I write in the middle of the day, sometimes I jot down notes. I always carry notebooks with me. Anywhere I go, I'm always thinking about my characters and my world. I'm plotting in my head while I'm driving. Anytime I have a free moment to think, it is thinking about this world. This is my special interest. Of course, there are days in there where I did not do 3 hours for various reasons, but most of the time I did more than that. So we're just going to assume 3 hours. And like I said, this is something that matters so deeply to me that I genuinely want to spend this much time on it. We're going to do some calculations here. Now, I'm a writer, so I have a notebook where I got some help from Google. And we're gonna see with calculations if I have achieved mastery by Malcolm Gladwell's definition. Now, you are allowed to disagree with me. But before you disagree with me, I want you to ask yourself if you would tell a 20-year-old writer with the same beginner experience writing for 10 years as a 12-year-old writing to 22 years if they are not considered a skilled writer or a master writer. I am explaining this because I feel like this is really important to explain and put into perspective for people, because I do say that I have 10 years of experience and not everybody totally understands why I am that serious about it. If you don't think I have the 10,000 years of hours in writing, I do definitely at least have 10,000 hours in world building. And I have way over 10,000 hours in world building because, like I said, this is something I'm thinking about every single moment of my life. And there has never been a point in time since I was 12 where I was not writing a book in this series. I have written 9 books in this series. We're counting revisions because when I revise, I restart the entire thing. We're going to take 10,000 hours in 10 years. I've been writing for 10 years. 10 years is 3,650 days. We're going to take that 10,000 and we're going to divide it by how many days that is. According to that calculation, to achieve 10,000 hours of mastery, according to Malcolm Gladwell's theory, I would have had to write 2 hours and 44 minutes every day. I have surpassed 10,000 hours. So before you guys assume these things and assume that just because young writers are young, they are still developing the skills in the same way. If anything, children pick up skills very, very quickly. To speak for myself here, I self-published my first book at 14. I started querying agents at 15. I had 6 books written by 16, and I had a literary agent at 18. For the sake of this, I'm explaining why I am saying this is experience that I have, and I hope you guys can understand that. If you want to know more, you are welcome to ask questions. Like I said, this is something that I am intensely passionate about. This is something that I do truly believe that I have expertise in after working this long. I attended writers' conferences and I was always the youngest writer. I had professional critiques from editors. I had critiques from workshops. I was in writers' communities that young. I did put professional development and research into this.
When people say 10 years of experience, they generally mean 10 years professional experience. That's like me saying, because I've been writing stories since I was like 5 at the oldest. I might have been a little bit younger. People are gonna call bullshit on that. I learned to write and read really young, so it just is a thing. Don't worry, guys. I stagnated later on. It's okay. But yeah, I learned to read and write really young, and so I've definitely been writing stories since I was about 5. So I'm 28 now. I can do maths. That's like really easy maths. Oh my god. That's like me saying I have 23 years of writing experience, which is a little bit misleading. Because if I said that and you didn't see me, you'd be like, so she's like 40? She's been working in the industry for however long? That math might have been off, but who cares? So that's a little bit misleading. Now, at some point, she had gotten herself an agent, right? If you're not involved with the publishing world, and a lot of my audience aren't, I'll explain this to you. An agent is just somebody that's in some ways, like there's a lot more that goes into it, but all you need to know is they're the middleman between you and the publisher. So you get an agent first, then you get the publisher, usually. Not going to go into all the technicalities of it, right? That's how it works. So she got an agent. This is a big deal. It's not easy to get an agent. Your book has to be good. Your writing has to be good, usually. Then she was with that agent for about 3 years, and at some point she was dropped by the agent. However, this is where we get into Audra's confusing of the timeline. And I say it in that way, even though it makes no grammatical sense, but to say that she kind of twists things a little bit and she makes things very vague, because when she was pity posting, she said that she was dropped and she was crying. She posted a video of her crying about this.
I probably shouldn't be recording this, but I need to put it into perspective. For some people, I think it's important to see both the good and the bad of talent. I'm an author, right? And it is the hardest part of my life, but it is the most important part of my life at the same time. I spent 3 years with a literary agency that had my book in revision, and then at the 3-year mark, when I finally had it done, they dropped me and got me to this point, which I'm glad I didn't stick with traditional publishing. But if I hadn't, I don't think people realize how difficult it is. I can get comments on every single one of my videos saying, when is this book going to be published? And I have been for 3 years now. And, I wish when I can finally give an answer, I can't get to my followers. My Kickstarter has 26 days left. I cannot publish my book without it because I am a college student and a tour guide who cannot afford to properly self-publish a book in the way that I want to, and the way that I feel like my world deserves. And I feel like it would be doing it an injustice if I didn't. And if I don't make it, I'm back to square one. This is some of the worst pain that I have been in my life. I went through a lot of tough things, but to be taken down by things that are out of my control, and to be told years and years by writers' communities specifically, when you have a failure, you're encouraged in the industry to just start something else. And I've never been able to do that. And that's just because it means genuinely so much to me. Like, this is a world in a series that I know more than anything.
However, when she then became more successful with promoting her book on TikTok and started getting loads of pre-orders, she started calling herself an entrepreneur. And in tandem with that, she started saying that she and the agent split ways, or sometimes that she chose not to work with the agent anymore and chose to go the indie route. You see how it gets a little bit complicated and confusing. Now, what I assume, and by the way, everything I say in this is my opinion, don't sue me, Audra. What I assume is that what happened is that the agent did drop her, but then she decided not to pursue another agent. Either that, or the agent said, hey, you're going to have to make heavy changes to your book for this to go anywhere. Audra did not want to make heavy changes, and then obviously she was dropped for not making the changes, but she chose not to make it, so was it a choice? It's that kind of thing. So it was one of those two options in my mind, but she's still saying it in whatever way suits her narrative at the time. Like, if she wants to be seen as somebody, an underdog who really needs help, she'll say she was dropped. But if she wants to say she's a successful entrepreneur and businesswoman, then she chose to do this. And right off the bat, it may sound like I'm being really harsh towards Audra, but you have to understand, by the time you get to the end of this story, you will fully understand why I've kind of run out of sympathy. Because I feel like, for me personally, Audra has been a really good lesson, and from her, I've learned that pity marketing works on me. I thought I was better than that. I'm not, but I've learned that it works on me, because anytime she gets sad, I just feel horrifically bad for her. But then she does all these things, and twists things a lot and really paints herself in a very strange light, as you will see going forward, that it just is hard to feel bad for her. But let's get on to the actual book, right? So The Age of Scorpius, the first book in this series that she was doing, the numbers vary. It could be 6,000, it could be 6,500, it could be 7,800 pre-orders through TikTok Shop. Those are insane numbers. I'll be honest with you guys, right? So currently my book comes out in November. It's now September. I have 700 pre-orders on the paperback of my book, and those are insane numbers. Having 700 pre-orders is insane. And by the way, thank you so much. Very grateful for that. Very aware of how lucky I am to be in that position. So when I'm saying that 700 is huge, think of the fact that she might have had upwards of 8,000 pre-orders, 7,800 by the latest estimates. People were really excited for this book. So let's hear just a little bit from Audra herself from before everything went wrong.
I am the creator of the world of Guardian, which is a fantasy world based around the zodiac signs, and I am the author of a book called The Age of Scorpius, which is the debut novel to this world. It is available on TikTok right now for pre-order. Little bit of a flex here. I have sold about 1,400 copies on
That was just in May, by the way, so those numbers went up.
Pre-order for a debut. I'm an independent author. Cool stuff. I'll read to you what is hooking so many people. It is in the description of this product if you get curious and want to know more. I do only have 100 orders per day, and that is because I pack and ship the bookmarks before I pack and ship the order at the end of this month to early June. And they've been selling out usually before noon, so if you're thinking about getting this, do it before it's too late. That's my advice. Or you'll have to wait a day. I don't know if any other authors have this problem, but I've tried to record this like 4 times now. I can't read my own writing. It makes me feel weird. I'm going to read it anyway. Welcome to Guardian, a world where one zodiac sign determines their magic, fate, and social status. 18-year-old Rika has been determined all her life to piece together Guardian's fragmented historical record and reverse her sign's motionless code of honor. When she finally locates an ancient archive containing classified knowledge of Guardian's history, Rika discovers a scroll that reveals the existence of a mythological weapon and uncovers the truth behind the Scorpio code. It's nothing more than a manipulation tactic to keep Scorpio in power. Violating the code's holy orders is punishable by death, and Rika's broken the first tenet: never show emotion. Unless she wants to be murdered for displaying her anger against the law's will, she must find and prove that a mythological weapon is more than a story before she's killed by the strangely familiar assassins sent to stop her. A couple more interesting things about this book is that it's kind of a blend between high fantasy, dystopian, heavy on dystopian, and sword and sorcery, a little bit of romance. It does feature a sapphic protagonist, my protagonist.
Mine too. Yes, I am so using this as an opportunity to talk about my book. I don't want to hear nobody in the comments being like, "Oh, you can't talk about your book. You're just using this to promote your book." No, I am talking about this not to promote my book because I'm obsessed with this situation. I find it intensely interesting and I have a lot to say about it. However, I am also going to take the opportunity to talk about my book. My book has gay mermaids. There you go. Let's continue with Audra though.
This is a lesbian. As am I. I can go into Guardian's history more too, probably in a different video because that would literally make this video 8 minutes long. So if you're interested, let me know. I'd be happy to talk about it, and I hope this sounds interesting to you. Thank you for listening, and hope I hooked you. Welcome to the world of Guardian. My name is Audra Winter.
So let's see if we can see any of the comments from before this came out. Okay, yeah, we can actually immediately. I'm calling it now, unless the author wishes against it. We will see an Age of Scorpius movie franchise. And Audra hearts this and says, "Don't delete this comment, I'm bookmarking it." Somebody being homophobic? Okay. Somebody else said, "This might be the book that gets me back into reading," which is like a pretty big thing for an author to hear. Lots of people just being really excited about this at the time. So, it was primed to be a success, but let's have a look at some of the reviews on the book itself since it came out. And we can actually see a little bit of chapter 1 of this book. So currently, The Age of Scorpius by Audra Winter has a 1.61 star rating on Goodreads. That's not good, if that wasn't clear. So I'm going to read the synopsis for you, although you heard a little bit of that already, and then we'll read some of the reviews that people left. I just want to say really quickly, because I can hear myself in my own ears, I understand that my voice is a little bit today, because I'm a writer. I know words like ugh. My voice is a little bit off today. I've been really sick. I'm okay today, but my voice is still not recovered fully. It's always the first thing to go, which is why whenever I get sick, you don't see me for like a week or two, because my voice is the first to go and the last to come back. It's great. I've also just been having a week. All right, so please don't be mean about my voice in the comments. Anyway, The Age of Scorpius and its premise became a TikTok sensation in 2021 with over 3.5 million likes and 8 million views. This highly anticipated YA fantasy debut by Audra Winter is filled with magical mysteries, found family, forbidden powers, and strong, rebellious women. The Age of Scorpius is a unique blend of the sword and sorcery, dystopian, mystery, and romantasy genres, featuring a sapphic protagonist and diverse cast of characters. Welcome to Guardian, a world where one zodiac sign determines their magic, fate, and social status. So we kind of heard this bit already, so I won't read that for you. I just kind of wanted to see what it said here. Let's get into the reviews. So here's just a look of what they look like. I was about to like lift up my phone to show you, as if I don't have it on screen already. Zara rated this 1 star. Would have been a DNF, which for those of you who aren't involved with the book world, that means did not finish. I always thought it meant did not fuck with. Like, I truly believed that until I heard somebody on TikTok say that it meant do not finish. Would have been a DNF, but I made myself finish it because I wanted to give it an honest shot. To say it was poorly written, poorly developed, and poorly edited would be an understatement. She has even misspelled her own made-up words. The characters are especially irksome. All flat and flawless with the exception of Avia, who is obnoxious but not nearly as bad as the other characters made her out to be. Kaya comes off like a bully and a busybody for getting involved in Avia and Rika's sister relationship, though the narrative paints her as righteous and noble. None of them are likeable, and for all the authors talk about emotions, nothing these characters feel come across as earned in any way. This is why when someone tells you your book isn't ready, you don't just dismiss it, because it's not something you want to hear. It's a shame because the concept has potential, but it needs so much more time. 10 years of writing means nothing when you were barely developed individual for most of it. Books that were written by teenagers read like they were written by teenagers, and in this case, The Age of Scorpius reads like it was written by a 12-year-old. 10 rewrites or 25, the author's writing never developed beyond the skill of a child. I'm baffled. It's quite harsh, but it's not inaccurate. It's not. While I commend her passion for her project, her success in popularizing her book as well as building a fan base before even publishing a single world is her only impressive feat. Perhaps she should consider a career shift to literary marketing. And this kind of sums up a lot of people's opinions about this book. It's not just that like the story maybe isn't the best or it's boring or something, right? If that was the case, this wouldn't have become such a huge situation. It would have just been another, oh well, we didn't like it that much. The problem with it was that it read like it wasn't edited, which Audra hates to hear, but it is the fact. I've read like bits of it, I haven't read the whole thing. It reads like it wasn't edited. It's really confusing to read. It's just, like on a line level, it's really badly written. It's not just even about the plot or anything, which again has its own issues, but the actual writing. She repeats sentences, it's like it's a first draft, which in my own opinion, it might be. And like this person said here, 10 years of writing means nothing when you were a kid for most of it. However, Audra herself has said that her revision process means that when she has to make revisions, she starts the book again. So that's not good, because that means that she's constantly writing first drafts. Now, I say this is somebody who isn't published yet, right? So you can take everything I say with a grain of salt, but like it's pretty well established that writing is rewriting, and editing is one of the biggest parts of the writing process. I mean, my book, the first draft was finished ages ago, but editing was going on until like now because there are so many edits that have to be done. It's a really long process, and you have to get a really strong relationship with your editor. It's not an easy thing because your first draft is going to be awful. Awful. Like really, really, really bad. There's no way around it unless you are some kind of prodigy, which maybe Audra thinks she is. We'll get into that as well. But if all Audra is doing when she needs to make revisions and edits is, instead of like, you know, rereading her manuscript and making notes for herself or changing bits or being like, okay, I need to kind of remove this chapter or like fix this series of events or like add something here, change this wording. Instead of doing any of that, she just starts and writes another first draft. That, in my mind, is never going to work. Like, that is not going to give you a successful book. And clearly it didn't. Let's read a couple more. Oh, it's Reads with Rachel. Sorry, I got really excited there. Reads with Rachel is actually one of, I'm sure other people have done full reviews on the Age of Scorpius, but Reads with Rachel is the only one that I've seen who's done a full review of Age of Scorpius, and I can actually attest that I watch her channel quite a bit. She's my channel that I watch when I'm like cleaning the kitchen. I just have my headphones on. But also, my own book, yeah, we're talking about my book again. Get over it. My own book, I feel, was completely changed from what it was originally going to be because of a review that Rachel did. Anyway, she didn't give a full review here, but she did on YouTube, so I'll link that in the description. Anyway, this other person rated it 1 star and said, like other reviews have stated, I follow this author on TikTok and wanted to support her incredible feat of amassing such a huge fan base for her debut book. According to her, this book took 10 years to develop, which meant she started writing it when she was 12. As someone who wrote many stories when she was younger, the entire saga behind this book spoke to me. I really wanted to support indie, which is kind of a lot of the thinking that a lot of people had. They were like, oh wow, she started writing at such a young age, she's really passionate about this, of course I want to support her. And of course you would, you know, until you read the book. Unfortunately, the writing is painfully juvenile and left me deeply disappointed. Finishing the book was a chore. As a whole, the concept intrigued me and I respect the amount of work she put into marketing. However, there were a large amount of grammatical errors coupled with terrible sentence structure which made me question if it had even been edited. See, there it is. The world building was also flat, heavily info dumped with poor execution, and then repeated in her characters' stilted dialogue. Here we go. I was doing so well, guys, with speaking, as well as her narrative. This world is set in a post-apocalyptic Earth where characters are armed with both medieval weaponry and watches, and where zodiac magic is introduced at birth. Initially, it was intriguing to see how an author may try to turn zodiac stereotypes on their head, but unfortunately, the character motivations and characteristics were not unique enough to do so. The societal commentary regarding the code of each zodiac was surface level. The author clearly wanted a tale of rise against the oppressor, but there were no oppressors nor true dystopian ideas in place. The characters spoke so unnaturally about their own world, it read as though the author wasn't sure we would get enough world building from the narrative. A narrative that repeated itself often. For example, she begins chapter 2 with, though midwinter raged throughout the rest of Guardian, Conviction Woods kept its humid warmth all year round. Nearly a page later, though, she repeats, though midwinter raged throughout the rest of Guardian, Conviction Woods kept its humid warmth all year long. There were an unnecessary amount of commas, semicolons, and em-dashes that were incorrectly used throughout every sentence, which was jarring and disruptive. Simple words like merely and irresistible were unusually placed, while other adjectives and wow. Lads. Shall we try that again? Right. While other adjectives and similar meanings were doubled up, which indicates there is a misunderstanding of definitions/vocabulary. Other terms and words are repeated to a point where they began to lose meaning, like the aforementioned Conviction Woods. There are misspellings of common words and misspellings of her own made-up words. All of these errors made this novel appear sloppy, which was genuinely disheartening. I was so excited to support a book that had beautiful artwork, years of development, and such astounding passion behind it. She has several older videos on TikTok that refer to this novel as award-winning on both a state and national level before it was ever published. I'm leaning towards the possibility that it won awards for her age group, not necessarily in skill or content. Writing a book this size is impressive, and I do still commend anyone who publishes their work, especially at such a young age. But for an adult, this is a really tough debut. Now, this mentioned a lot of artwork, right? And that was one of the big things about this book, and one of the things that got people really interested is that Audra would post a lot of art on the TikTok account, which is a good thing, right? Like, she's commissioning artists, all of that, and she's getting people to work with her. But it seems now that the book is out, her whole focus seemed to be more on like, ooh, look, here's my world, here's all the art in the book, rather than I enjoy being a writer. And I was going to get into this at the end, but I'll just tell you one of the things I think now, and we'll talk more about it later, but to put it very bluntly, I don't think that Audra Winter actually wants to be a writer. I think she has spoken so passionately about the world, right? She's talked about that. She says it's her special interest. It's like the one thing in her life that has meaning and has stayed with her forever, and it's all she cares about is this world. But she's never said she really cares about the writing. I don't know that she's ever put any effort into learning the craft of writing. I don't think she cares about being a writer or being an author, because as soon as she started making money from this, she switched to calling herself an entrepreneur with a 6-figure business and the creator of the world of Guardian, not the author of this, not an aspiring writer. And personally, I would go so far as to say she probably doesn't read a lot either. That is my own personal opinion, but I've never seen her talk about books that she enjoys reading. I've never seen her mention any other books, like, ever. She just talks about her own one, which obviously she's promoting it, but she also reads, but her book also reads like she doesn't read. Like, it seems like it was written by someone who doesn't read often, and to be a writer, you really need to be reading, like, not just stuff that you like, you need to be reading, like, a huge array of stuff. You can't write a book if you don't regularly read books. This is just the way it works. That, again, my opinion. But it seemed like a lot of the focus was on the artwork, on the world building. So if we go back to her TikTok, I'm gonna just keep talking because this is copyrighted music that's going la 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 la. God, my voice sounds extra beautiful when I'm getting over the sickness. Anyway, yeah, so you can see like a lot of art getting people really excited. Buildings from concept artists and stuff. Now, she has hired a lot of artists, which again, I think is a good thing. But she immediately turned this into a business. As soon as she started making money, she hired a team. That team changes numbers. It's been like up to 20, I think. Up to 20 artists and stuff for this one book. When this book became the World of Guardian LLC. So her whole thing is not to be a writer, it's to make a multimedia franchise. And she has said that herself, that she wants the World of Guardian to be a multimedia franchise. But maybe write the book first. Maybe put money into the editors and the editing process and focus on that. And then once that's successful and the book is good and people like it, then you can branch out into the multimedia stuff. Because there's nothing to say that you can't do that. Now, because of her love for the art, people have suggested that maybe she should have just written a graphic novel because her writing isn't particularly good, right? I beg to differ, because I think that comes from a fundamental misunderstanding that graphic novels are just about the art, and they are hugely about the art, but the writing also needs to be good. The ability to craft a story also needs to be good. You can't just be like, well, I'm not a good writer, so I guess I'll do a graphic novel. No, you still need to be able to write a good, gripping story for people. I would even argue, maybe this is just a me thing because I write longer form stuff, I would argue that in some ways it's actually more difficult because you're trying to write a concentrated story. You're trying to put all of these character developments and arcs and story development and plot lines into much less text. And I would say that is, in its own way, really, really challenging. So it's not a case of just, well, she likes her world, so she should just write a graphic novel. I don't know. I think she needs to just work on learning how to write, to be perfectly honest.
Audra Winter. I am an author and the creator of the world of Guardian, which is a fantasy world based around the zodiac signs that I have been working on for 10 years now. I am getting ready to publish the first book set in that world. It is called The Age of Scorpius, and it comes out next month. That book has defied the odds, and that is why I've been getting this question a lot recently. I have sold almost 800 signed copies of The Age of Scorpius. It is my debut as an indie author. I sold those on pre-order. Actually looked up the other day if this has ever been seen before in publishing, or if there's any kind of record for how many signed copies a debut indie author has sold, and Google showed me my own video. I am a little bit separated from the publishing community and the publishing industry, and that is because I will only write in the world of Guardian. I created it when I was 12, and ever since I created it, I have spent 3 hours or more every single day writing in that same world. When I was 14, I actually self-published a book. It is not published anymore. In fact, it was unpublished about 6 months after it was initially published. It wasn't getting the attention I wanted it to get. And so I did more research, and I said, well, maybe I need to go over into traditional publishing. So at the age of 15 years old, I started querying literary agents. I was so motivated to get a literary agent that even after I was 15 to 18 years old, I was querying literary agents the entire time. I was going to writers' conferences. But around 18, the world of Guardian started going viral on TikTok. I'm very surprised that I didn't change my path right then and there, but I actually stuck with traditional publishing. And I think that was just because I had truly gotten the idea in my head that I only had value as an author if I was picked up by a publisher. And this probably stems from the idea of how many rejections I got when I was younger. When you go into an art and a craft at such a young age, you literally get rejection after rejection, day after day. I needed the validation in traditional publishing. I needed an agent to say, this is good enough, you're ready. I needed a publisher to say, I'm ready to invest in this, because in my head, that was the only way of me knowing that I was ready. When I signed with my literary agency at age 19, I stayed with them when I was 19, 20, and 21. After working with a literary agency for 3 years straight, they decided to drop about 20 of their authors who wrote in science fiction and fantasy because they did not represent the genre anymore. That was not cool. I could have stayed in very well. I knew that, and I actually queried a couple of agents back in like August. And then it hit me that I don't want to do that. I ultimately made the decision to go indie again because I wanted to retain creative freedom over my world, and I knew my book was ready. I knew that I had a start to a world that needed to go out into the world. The thing that I missed before is the confidence in my work, in my world, and that's what I came into indie publishing with. I said, I am going to mimic the traditional publishing process as closely as I can, and that's what I did. I hired the editor that published The Hunger Games. I have another editor who has worked for Big Five publishers for 30 years. I have a team of 15 artists. I found that team of 15 artists from a variety of platforms, including Reddit and DeviantArt. I sent out call-out posts, and I looked through about 600 art portfolios. I've always kind of known that I want a Guardian to be a shared creative space, that I don't want people looking over me, but people on a team contributing to the world itself. Ultimately, the main reason that I went back into self-publishing was driven by all these reasons, that I wanted to work with a team. I wanted to be able to choose who edited my book. I wanted to be able to choose the formatter. I wanted to be able to choose the artists. And that is because I have never been in publishing to make money. I've never been an author that wanted to just start series after series after series. I want to dedicate myself to one larger story, and that's the world that I created. And by staying independent, I can focus on the world itself. I don't need to be controlled by a publisher. I don't need to be controlled by an agent. And I can access the same services that they would offer. The other big driver is that I am incredibly anti-AI. I think it is a detriment to artists, writers, anybody in the creative scene. I have very strong opinions about it. If you've been on my page, you know that. And that's because as somebody who's written for 10 years, I didn't have AI while I was writing, and that's what made me a good writer. You have to get your soul sucked out by editors. As a writer, that's a requirement. You need to get hundreds of rejections. You have to get critique to learn. You can't just cheat your way out of it. And on top of that, cheating your way out of it with a machine that steals from those writers who have put in the work. After seeing publishers use AI for things, I said, I'm done. The path that I have specifically taken is a little bit different than what you normally experience as an author, and that is because I devoted myself to Guardian, and I always have, and I always will. I am so much more happy to work with a collaborative team and establish my world's name in general, and retain my creative control over it than giving it up to a publisher. Hopefully this helped.
So you can see why a lot of people had hope that this was good. Audra really talked the talk. Like, she goes on about how she's faced so many rejections, she's had editors, call her out and help her or whatever, and that is why she's now a good writer. She also said she has an editor who worked on the Hunger Games. This is entirely misleading, because my understanding of the situation, based on what people have dug up online, is that the editor that she had was not the developmental editor of the Hunger Games. The editor that she had worked on marketing in the Hunger Games and now works as a contracted editor. Those are two different things, but she made it sound like her editor edited the Hunger Games, which seems to not be the case. Plus, she goes on about, she's a good writer, and she's written, 3 hours a day, every day, which she, in one video, when somebody was saying, oh, blah, 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 10 years doesn't matter if this, that, or the other, she came back and said, well, based on the idea of you need 10,000 hours to be a master at something, I've done 3 hours a day for 10 years, I am a master at writing. High hopes for herself. So the backlash was swift. The reviews were bad. People were making TikToks about her. People were making YouTube videos about her. I was watching TikToks about her and about this and just being in shock of the whole thing. And eventually Audra did have to respond. So this was the first response that she made, and it's just a text post. It says, it was brought to our attention, because at this point it's the World of Guardian LLC and she's a team of artists and whatnot. It was brought to our attention today that the ebook for the Age of Scorpius has many errors that cause its quality to be subpar in comparison to the paperback and hardcover. Okay. Straight out the bat, now, I haven't checked the difference between the two because the paperback is not available anymore. She took it off of Amazon. I would have ordered a copy for myself if I could have, but I can't. So I can only see the ebook version. And, the little bits that people have put up online. But what people who had both said is that they were both bad, basically. That it wasn't a situation where the ebook had some issues, but the paperback didn't. They were both bad. In my rush to release the ebook, I did not proof with the same attention and care I gave to the physical copies. I am deeply sorry for the disappointment this oversight has caused. So, I don't understand why the ebook and the paperback would be different. It's different formatting, right? But the manuscript should be the same, and then you format it for the different things. You don't format it and then, do developmental edits and line edits and copy edits. That would be a nightmare. That doesn't make any sense to me, but here we are anyway. We have temporarily removed the ebook from sale and plan to re-release it with all art included, as well as technical improvements and fixes to its content. Since the Kindle preview was the previously available sample, we will be re-uploading a free sample within the next 2 hours as scanned pages of the first chapters from the hardcover. It will be posted publicly on our Patreon for easy access and linked at the top of my Linktree. Additionally, we are actively working to update the Amazon and Barnes & Noble standard paperback copies with a higher quality second revised edition. So if the issue is with the ebook, why are you revising the paperback? Riddle me that.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Once released, those who have purchased the first edition will be able to request a code on our website for a free digital copy of the second edition. There was nothing wrong with the way that was written. I just simply could not read for a minute there. Additionally, I am seeking a second opinion from a third editor on potential editing improvements. Earlier this year, I hired 2 experienced editors to developmentally and copy edit the Age of Scorpius. Their names are in the acknowledgements of the book. Prior to these passes, the Age of Scorpius was in revision with a literary agent, critique groups, beta readers, and various publishing professionals. However, we have heard you. There is always room for improvement. We greatly appreciate the encouragement to seek further feedback and polish the revised second edition and strive to ensure a comfortable reader experience. See, if the issue was with the formatting of the ebook, then you wouldn't need to do this. So that first slide was really misleading. But, getting a new editor? Good. Good. During this time, I will be taking a small break from posting. My overall health has been deeply impacted and affected by the expectation for me to respond to criticism and critique less than a month after my first new release. Posting intentionally harmful criticisms on my page directed to me with a demand for me to answer puts me in an uncomfortable position as an author. Though I vastly appreciate all reader feedback and advice, I have in turn received alarming, hurtful, and misconstrued harassment intended to cause harm to me and my team. With increasing safety concerns, it is in my best interest to step away from audience engagement. I cannot say thank you enough for all the support and feedback I've received thus far. I've been showered with unconditional love, kindness, and patience as I learn and adapt my way through a new path in publishing. In just a few months, I have unexpectedly become a new business owner of a creative studio with 20 plus contractors and employees. My aim has always been to uphold and foster a positive community of creatives who love creating and developing Guardian as much as I do. There is nothing more in my life that I care so deeply about than bringing joy to others in the form of storytelling while operating a collaborative space for many dedicated and passionate artists. I'm 22. There is still much for me to learn, but in the meantime, I am doing everything I possibly can to deliver a product that properly reflects the love put into this project on behalf of myself and my team. Thank you for all the feedback. It has vastly helped me to understand exactly where I can make improvements to continuously give a voice to independent artists and writists across the world. I myself am a writist, not much of an arter. Though I did attempt to do some art recently. I tried to draw some of my characters. And I think, considering that I am not an artist, that went okay. Somebody said the ebook should be the exact same copy/document as the paperback, just different formatting. So there's that. That's what I said. Extra rounds of editing might make the book less bad, but I'd recommend learning how to interact with people and respond to criticism in non-hostile ways before the re-release. This is in reference to her being quite defensive a lot of the time. I can't get into, every single little thing. This video will be 5 hours, even though I would love to sit here and talk about every single little thing for 5 hours. But she has been a little bit defensive. Like I said, somebody said, 10 years of writing means you've worked in the industry. She's like, well, I'm a master of writing, actually. So, there's that. Confused as to why the paperback and ebook are different versions to begin with. Shouldn't only the formatting be different? Am I misinterpreting, or does it seem like her saying the editor's name in her book acknowledgements seems like she's placing blame on them? Not yet, but she will. We'll get there. Refunds, accountability. You chose to be a very public-facing author, promoting and bragging on TikTok daily. You asked for this. I bet if it was praise, you wouldn't take a break, but sure, definitely take a break from you accountability. So, I don't think people are owed a refund, to be perfectly honest. People were demanding a refund for this book because the quality was so bad, and I can understand why it's upsetting to spend so much money on a book. Like, the book itself was like 20-something dollars, and people were spending like upwards of like $50 on it, with shipping and everything. It's not a cheap book, right? And to get something so awful when you were so excited, it's disappointing. However, it is a gamble. I don't think there's any kind of refund owed here, unfortunately, but I understand why people want it, you know. I thought the book was good, considering the fact that she told readers that it was written from an age view of 11 to 12, and that is not the same as Akatar or Fourth Wing. I was like, what the hell is Fwu? I think everyone is comparing it to these titles, and they are on two completely different levels. It is teen more so than YA. Her writing will get better as time goes on, and for her debut book isn't as bad as y'all are making it out to be. Give the girl some grace, stop being so negative. It's nice that she has, you know, people rooting for her, although she says, this is from the age view of 11 to 12. Yes, but Audra is 22. Anyway, we could read these comments all day, but let's see Audra's next response. So another text post, and this she says, this coming Monday, August 4th, I'll be making a big announcement. I've been absorbing all the feedback on the Age of Scorpius, and it's become clear I missed the mark. My team and I are cooking up a way to make it right. I'm determined to make this book the best it can be. Until Monday, I'm staying offline. This situation took a huge toll on all aspects of my health, and I've only just begun to recover from the most heartbreak and humility I've ever experienced. Though receiving tough criticism is part of being an artist, I've also encountered hurtful rumours, misinformation, and occasional cruelty coming through both my public server and private TikTok comments and messages. It got so severe that TikTok stepped in and placed my profile under an anti-bullying protection. I'm aware that Goodreads froze the book's page, but I haven't yet heard from them as to why. I'll update you as soon as I know more. Sometimes Goodreads does that when it thinks a book is being review bombed, because like people might get into drama online that has nothing to do with their book, and then people will go and review bomb it with like 1 star. So Goodreads steps in to try and stop that from happening. So that might have been what happened there, but I don't claim to know what happened there. All right. Thank you for your criticism, encouragement, and understanding. All of this has driven me to get back up and do it better than ever. See you soon. So then we get into the first video response.
My name is Audra Winter, and I am going to be redoing this book. My entire life flipped upside down. I was in so much shock that I absolutely lost sight of what was most important, and that was delivering my voice and my story in the best way that I could. I did myself an injustice, and I did my story an injustice, but I don't give up. I especially don't give up on the thing that matters the most to me, and that is storytelling and bringing other people joy. So here is what I am doing to make that right. We're re-releasing the entire thing. I have taken the feedback and the criticisms that I've received, especially in the past week, and I have discussed them and processed them in this time that I was not on the app, and I genuinely so badly want to make this the best that it can be. I am recruiting a copy editor and a proofreader from my audience, so people that are watching my videos, because I am receiving a lot of wonderful feedback. And I do have a lot of authors and writers and editors who follow me, and there are people who want to help, and I'm seeing that and I'm recognizing that. So I want to be able to find someone from my readers and from the people who are supporting me to be on my team. I will be opening on...
People were immediately pointing out that that was a terrible idea. And she did change that, thank God, because I also agree that that's a terrible idea. You do not want your editor to be from your audience. You want your editor to be like a third party with no stakes in this, no like chance of any kind of like parasocial going-ons or like any kind of bias or preconceived notions of your book. You want this to be a removed party. Like, and that's not to say that like you can't work with people you know or something, but I'm saying when it's your audience, it's a whole different thing. So I just think that's a bad idea, but she also didn't do that in the end, thank God.
Auditions for that on Tuesday. It's literally just going through the first chapter of the book and marking it up as much as you can. We're going to be looking at the different styles, and then we'll be doing onboarding by the end of next week for these revisions to start. Some of the things that we have already looked at changing and have plans to change would be the narration style and the voice, exposition, obviously copy edits and line edits and removing those errors, content addition and revision, more charts and guides, and dialogue while we're doing these revisions.
So she said, yeah, we're going to change everything. Some people are pointing out that this is a lot of work for the editor to be doing, and this reads more like the work that she herself should be doing. Now, I don't necessarily see this as she's saying the editor is going to be doing this, but she wants to do this. Which, good, because it wasn't good in the original book. I don't say this to be mean. Like, I'm not trying to be mean. It genuinely wasn't good. You know me. You guys know me. I try and be as nice as I can, and I really wanted to root for her. I really did. I didn't hear about her before the drama, but even after the drama, I just felt bad for her. But the book was not good, no matter how you feel about her.
It is only fair to you guys to be able to see what improvements we're making if you want to continue to support us or be like, nope, this isn't my thing. So we are going to post those revised chapters as we're going up until December on Patreon for free. So free to public, free to access.
I will say as well, she also changed the timeline, but December, way too ambitious to change that many things in the book. Just completely not possible unless you have a team of like 1 billion co-authors.
We're not going to be doing all of them, but definitely enough for you to get a good idea of what are the improvements that we're making, what are the things that we're changing, and what direction are we going into. Once we are fully confident that this is what we are going to put out to the world, we are offering anybody who has bought any version of the book a free digital copy. You can go onto our website and we have a form for that, where if you want to put in the order number from whatever platform you bought the book on, you can put yourself on a list to receive a digital copy once we finished and have that ready in December. On top of that, there were 5,000 excited readers for this hardcover and for this book. And so we're going to redo the hardcover. We're going to redo the limited edition hardcover. We're going to do another hardcover run of 5,000. And it's going to be released in December as well. For those of you that bought the hardcover already, we are offering a 50% discount on a $30 book. The price is going up a little bit because we're improving the quality of the book as a whole, not just the writing. We're adding more art and more involvement from a whole creative team. And the features of the book, different cover, different interior, different end pages, sprayed edges. We're going all out. We're going all out. But if you're somebody who has already purchased the hardcover and you do want to give us another chance, or you do want to read the story again, it's available for $15 there. We also do have it on the TikTok shop. If you're somebody new to my page who has found me and the chaos that this has been.
This was the point of this response that people really took issue with, because she said, so I'm revising the book, I'm going to make it better, right? I hate to laugh. It's just funny in a tragic sort of way. She's really going, so I'm going to re-release the book, but it's going to be more expensive now because I'm adding more art and sprayed edges, whereas people do not care about the more art. People wanted a readable book. That's all they want. They don't want to pay more for it. One thing I haven't seen people point out is the fact that she said they're going to be doing another run of 5,000 books, which is where I kind of think her Delulu is starting to come into play, which may, again, sound mean, but I say none of this to be mean. I say it to be realistic. People were excited for your book. The book was bad because, as she will admit at some point, she rushed through editing. She didn't edit properly. And so the book was terrible. So people don't want to buy the next one. Like, people aren't going to be like, oh, great, let me buy the revised version. People already tried it. They didn't like it. Why would you get 5,000 more orders? I just don't see it happening, but I don't think she realizes that. I would love nothing more for this to be a success story. I honestly mean that. I would love nothing more for her to turn this whole thing around, work on her craft, become an amazing writer, write a successful book, and to be loved, right? I don't see it in the cards, and I don't see how you can be so convinced you will get 5,000 pre-orders of this new revised version of the hardcover. Makes no sense. Plus the fact that she's saying, like, if you already bought the book and you weren't happy, you can now buy the new book, which is more expensive, but for 50% off. Although you do get the free ebook. So there is that, you know.
And if you want to support us. The paperback listing that is already on the TikTok shop, we are pushing that back to December, and I'm sorry about that, but we want to deliver you a quality copy. That one is going to remain the same as what is on the listing, so it'll have the cover and the sprayed edges and the interior illustrations. We just want to make sure we're updating the writing content and the interior content to be up to par to the standard that we are releasing with the revised second edition. At the time I posted this video, our print-on-demand versions of this book will be completely discontinued. So that first version is no longer available. I am not selling it anywhere, and that is because we want to put out the best version of the story that we can, and that best version is going to be the second version.
Which I will say, if anybody has a copy of the Age of Scorpius and would like to send it to me, or I could maybe buy it from you or something, please. I would love to get my hands on a copy. I want this piece of history, you know? I want this piece of history. I also just feel like I would love to compare the ebook and the physical book myself instead of just taking people's word for it. So yeah, if anybody has it, I don't know how you would send it to me because I'm not giving you my address, but we'll figure it out. I don't know. But yeah, I genuinely mean that. If anybody has a spare copy lying around, I would really like to get my hands on it.
That we are making. I learned a big lesson throughout all of this, and that lesson being misunderstanding. I wrote a book about misunderstanding, and I felt misunderstood. This is something that I have been grappling with my entire life. I am somebody who is neurodivergent, and I was afraid of being interpreted wrong because of this, because I do know that I write in a different voice, in a different style, in a different perspective. I had intended this book to be read that way, but it did not land at all in the way that I was expecting. That does not mean I am removing that identity or that representation from my text. I am going to do it better so it matches what my audience's expectations are. And I
think this is a good learning experience for her because it's, yeah, definitely right from like different perspectives and stuff. Like whatever your perspective is on life, right from that. But I'll give you an example, right? So I have ADHD. So if I was to write a book with the character narrating it the way that I think, that would be completely unreadable. I also don't know how I would write that because you would need overlapping lines. It just would not be readable. It would not be an enjoyable book to read. So you can have a character with ADHD, but you still have to tweak it so that the actual writing is readable for people in general.
I want to have a book that is enjoyable to read and understand. I was scared when I released this, and I got defensive. And that was wrong. On that note, I will not be engaging with my comments anymore. I want to be able to respect the space of my readers and them discussing amongst themselves. And I want them to feel safe doing that. And if my page is where they feel safe doing that, it's welcome. And I will take a step back. All the people that were encouraging me and telling me to get up, get back up, don't let this take you down, don't let it take your passion away from this. I appreciate you, and I hear you, and I hear all the feedback that I have been given in considering it, and I cannot express how much I needed that. I needed that so badly, and thank you for that. However, criticism and bullying are two different things. In the span of a single day, I went from readers trying to help to hearing some of the most horrible things that could be said to me. So severe, in fact, that TikTok literally...
Just remember her saying in the span of a day. That's going to be important later.
So severe, in fact, that TikTok literally had to put multiple anti-bullying protections on my page. They put one on my entire page and then started to notify me of different videos that they put additional protections on because of the amount of cyberbullying that I have experienced during this time. The amount of misinformation and rumors that we saw spread.
So I just wanted to pause this to see what example she's using. She's using this as examples of people spreading rumors, not about the people bullying her. But I want to read these because people that I've seen on TikTok are saying she's lying about like people being mean to her. I don't necessarily agree. I think the majority of comments were people just trying to tell her you need to, you know, fix this or that, or this isn't good or that isn't good. And that's not bullying. But as somebody who's on the internet, people are horrible. Even if you see one or two comments that are like buried and nobody else sees them, but you see them, those things ruin your day. Or they used to ruin my day. Now I don't care. I'm on sertraline. Nothing gets to me anymore. So, you know, it can hurt. So I'm not doubting her there. And I think if anybody is trying to like actually be mean to her or calling her out personally, really not cool. Unnecessary. You can criticize a book, a piece of art, anything, right? That is fair game. But to be mean to the person who made it is unnecessary and cruel. So I know that most people weren't being. I know that most people weren't, but I don't doubt her that there were probably people who were being horrible to her. So anyway, the comments that she puts up here as examples of rumor spreading. She literally wrote it this year in like a month, and it shows. She did not spend 10 years writing it. I don't know if that's a... She said 10 years writing it, but she said every time she revises, she writes the book from start to finish, and that she's like trying to figure out which story to tell in this world. So this particular story, I don't know that she's been writing this particular story for 10 years. My opinion. Could she be an industry plant to discredit indies everywhere? I doubt it. The big five are getting a huge dip in sales from indies, so I wouldn't put it past them to try something underhanded to discredit indies across the board. I cannot imagine that they'd do that. To me, that sounds like a dumb move. They are making money, and they could probably figure out better ways to do it than this. This is also banking on a lot, and she's been on TikTok for like 1 billion years. Somebody said, fully putting on a tinfoil hat, but I think maybe she either saved a bunch or maybe like family money, because in my opinion, she definitely paid to promote the shit out of her TikToks, allegedly. Her status as a Nepo baby helping her get published, reach book stardom, might not be confirmed, but I'd be unsurprised if it played a part. I wouldn't recommend comparing yourself to her. Part of her pushback is because she wouldn't allow ARC readers to review and used her autism and sexuality as a shield to deflect and shame people who didn't like her work. Not to mention she decided to spend thousands on a team of 20 plus people with an IP universe without ever having published before, which was a stupid move. And if she was a real Nepo baby, she would have parents that understand business and would tell her how stupid a thing that is to do. So that's me debunking the Nepo baby rumors right there. If she was like from old money or something, they'd be like, no, don't do that, my love. That is a terrible idea. Not to mention the reality, the book clearly hadn't been edited.
Was absurd. There are literal hundreds of people cheering on my downfall, cheering on the failure, cheering on the death of my success, and that hurts. This has affected me in every aspect of my life.
The timing of that was so bad. I realized as soon as I did it, that was not me cheering on her downfall. That was because this video was taking longer to record than I thought, so I went and I got reinforcements, so I just wanted to be like, hey, look, guys, I got reinforcements, but it's really bad timing. Oh no. Girly, I swear I'm not preying on your downfall. I already said it. I would love nothing more than to see this be a success. My comedic timing is... Comedic timing? My theatrical timing? My timing. Bad. Okay? I apologize.
And I don't think I ever fully will recover from it. And that's speaking out of total honesty. This impacted my health. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. I was up having panic attacks about losing everything that kept me alive for many, many years. I was worried about losing the team, about these people that I have grown close to over a course of months. And that is scary. It is scary to lose sight of finally reaching your dreams and finally being able to live the life that you fought to live for a very long time. Hearing things like I'm a scam or that I'm just a marketing ploy, I'm trying to get money from people, that hurts on a level that runs deep, runs very, very deep for me, because I get on here to talk about my passion. Nothing matters in the world more to me than just being able to tell stories and bring other people joy and being able to create a space for other artists to...
Okay, she repeats this a lot about like all she cares about is creating joy and stuff or whatever. I think all she cares about is her world. Nothing wrong with that per se, but it's just like it feels like a regurgitated line, because a lot of the way she speaks and starts to speak going forward sounds very businessy. And as we'll even see, there's even news as of like yesterday. There is constant news about this story. She, this is just, in my opinion, just a business to her. Like, it is a passion, but it's also just a business to her. Like, that's what's important to her, not being a writer, being a business and a successful businesswoman.
Also live their passion. You know what? I found my greatest strength in that. This is everything to me. Every single thing in my life revolves around this, and I am ready to stand and fight for it. I have a voice, and I want to make a difference, and I want to do that in the best way possible because I am an advocate for artists supporting artists. I work very closely with my artists, and I think in a day and age where we are turned so much against each other as competitors, we should be allies. We should be uplifting each other. I want to be able to represent the value of...
Not really. Like, I guess that I've not been in the indie publishing space for long enough to know, I guess. But from what I've seen, it seems to be like a lot of people uplifting each other. I feel like it only becomes a competition if that's the way you choose to think about it. I think it's the same with YouTube, right? Because I'm not close with a lot of YouTubers, right? Really, the only YouTuber that I speak to is Lizzie. She's the only one that I would consider a friend. YouTubers can tend to feel very competitive about the YouTube space for some reason, and it doesn't need to be that way, and I've always found that like a complete turn off with people. It's just like, what? It's not that serious, calm down. Like, I just can't be around people like that, whereas it doesn't need to be that, and for certain groups of people it's not. Like, you can literally just chill, give each other ideas, like talk about stuff, share your frustrations or your joys or whatever, and it's a nice thing to have. And I think it's the same in the indie publishing space. I'm in a few group chats with indie authors. I don't chat in them regularly because apparently I'm known among my friends and family and loved ones for not responding to messages. I found that out recently. That when people talk about me when I'm not there, that's what they discuss, is the fact that I don't respond to things. So that's not good. But yeah, I don't message a lot, but I do look from time to time what people are posting in there, and it's just people being nice to each other, so I think it just depends where you choose to place yourself in that world. Like, some people are going to be competitive, that's the nature of it, but it isn't automatically like that.
Artistic kinship. I am dedicated to continuously pioneering through an industry by representing artists and writers equally and working together as humans to create human art. I will continue to do the best that I can with this, and I want to continue pursuing my dreams. All of this is strengthening me, and it has pushed me to stand up. It has made me aware that I can survive the worst case scenario. I can continuously push through difficult things, and I'm going to. Thank you for everybody who has been supporting me and the feedback, because I'm getting back up and I'm doing it better, and I'm going to do it the best that I can with every single thing that I have in me and get you guys a version of the book that you want. My name is Audra Winter, and
So let's have a look at the comments, shall we? Somebody said, not you making the decision to become the author variant of Elizabeth Holmes in the year 2025. This is clearly a reference to the outfit that she is wearing. Sorry, but you're an author. Who is we? Why does this video feel like I'm on the clock in a corporate work meeting? Girly, what? $29.99 is wild when shipping is free at 30. Wait. I didn't know this. She priced it at $29.99. Free shipping on orders over $30. That is so funny. I made 6 figures off the first release, even though it was bad. Now I'm going to redo it and resell it and make even more money. Audra, with all my love, as a developmental editor and an author with 5 titles published, 4 months is not enough time to do this. The book needs a total overhaul. In fact, I recommend shelving this and practicing by writing more books. We don't want different art, we needed a comprehensive developmental edit, and that just can't happen in the right way this quickly. Writing is super hard. You can't be a master of your craft at 22. I'm sure somebody can. I don't know who, but somebody... Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley. She was a master. We love her. Girl, instead of artwork, describe the scenes with writing. Our minds will do the artwork. Sorry, that was very funny to me. Anyway, as you can see, that didn't get the best response as we discussed, and she ended up giving her whole revision plan for what they are planning to do for this new version of Age of Scorpius, even though I agree with the people who say that this should be shelved and she should just work on something else instead, but she is never going to do that. Even like a different story in the same world would be absolutely fine if she could just develop it better. Yeah.
My name is Audra Winter. I am the creator of the world of Guardian, and today I am coming on here to talk about a couple of pretty large updates. We are pushing the release date of the second edition of AOS into March. I'll explain why in a second.
Thank God.
But we took a lot of time in the past 2 weeks with everything going on to basically put together an 8-step plan for a revision process. My goal is to get through 1 chapter at least every week, 2 if I can, but we don't want to rush it. So 1 chapter is what I really feel comfortable with based on the structure that we have built. First step in this revision process is that my team has a meeting at the beginning of every week before I start revising the chapter. Multiple of us have taken feedback from across the internet from a lot of you guys, and we like to discuss the things that are happening in each chapter and what can we do to improve it. This core team is made up of about 6 to 8 people across the arts, across different mediums, and people who have already read the first version of the book at least once, if not twice. The second step that I am taking...
I just want to point out something here. She says across the arts, right? Which to me, I take that to mean that some of the people in this creative team that she's discussing, like what needs to be revised and stuff, are the artists. That's my own interpretation of that. Why would the artists need to be the ones that you discuss the developmental side of the book with? The revisions. The artists should be doing the art. And you and the editor or editors should be doing the editing. The artists don't need to be there.
In this revision process is essentially reverse engineering a writing process. One of my employees is my secondary developer, Solly. I actually get on a call almost every single night for about 3 hours with Solly. And what we are doing is, before I start revisions after the team meeting, we then have another brainstorming session. And this brainstorming session is me verbally describing the outline for the revised chapter that I'm doing. So going over scenes, going over plot, and I'm working through them with my words, actively talking. And Solly helps me to develop, change ideas, shift things around. But what Solly also does is Solly is an artist. And so Solly will literally draw these things while I am outlining and do some concept art for this chapter.
Why? I want to give you a longer thought out response to this section, but all I have to say about that is why. Why is that a necessary part of your revision process to have somebody draw this for you? I don't get it.
Then writing descriptions based off of that art, which is really, really cool because it's fun to have visuals while you're writing. And the fact that I can have visuals of the things that I am writing is even cooler. Third step, simple. I rewrite the chapter. This I do by myself because it's my writing and my story. Fourth step, the entire team goes over it again. So if there's any changes that need to be made in the storytelling, I'll do that and I'll adjust it. Fifth step, we are bringing on an in-house copy editor and proofreader. This is not just somebody from our audience.
An in-house copy editor. She is like pissing away money on this.
We are only hiring somebody with a lot of experience in editing, preferably somebody who has been both in self and traditional publishing, and we're going through a lot of applications.
I don't know if you can see this with whatever way I've cropped this on screen, but the little search bar at the bottom is Audra Winter artwork. Why? Did TikTok hear me and just change that? Artwork, why? Why?
Copy editor will also do some line edits, and after they're done with that, we're going to do a one-on-one discussion and apply those changes. Step 6 is that formatting. So our formatter, Joe, he was the person who did all the formatting on the first edition of AOS, is going to go in and re-put that file in.
So is he the one who messed up the ebook, Evil Joe?
to the book format. After Joe does that, it will then go through another round of proofing. So somebody that has not been involved up to this point will go through and look at that brand new finalized chapter to make sure there are no errors in the actual book file. And if that was not enough proofing, we are taking the entire creative team, and at the end of all the finalization, we're going to go through it and check one last time if there are any errors at all. You heard me mention in the last...
I have a lot of questions about this process. Because, like, why are you taking it chapter by chapter? Like, obviously, you need to write chapter by chapter. They don't necessarily have to be in order. I've seen some people write their chapters like they know what scenes they want to get to and then they fill in the middle. I don't do that. I do chapter by chapter. But with editing, like... Okay, so I was doing some editing 2 weeks ago. Or a week ago. 2 weeks ago? Doesn't matter. I was doing some editing a while ago and I was fixing some stuff in one of the later chapters, but because I changed something in the later chapters, I needed to subtly change something else that was in chapter, I think, 3 or 4, right? You can't just go chapter by chapter because it's a whole book. The whole arc makes a difference. If you, like, change something, maybe a character comes to a realization later on, or you include some detail, or you want to foreshadow at something that you've added in, or, like, change the arc subtly, you need to look at the whole overall picture. But it seems like what she's planning on doing is going chapter by chapter and formatting each chapter individually, so being like, okay, that's done now. That you can't because you need to go back and change stuff. And you also can't look at it just chapter by chapter because you need to look at the whole book and go, okay, is it working? Because on Patreon now, we'll look at that in a bit, she's now uploading the revised chapters. I actually went ahead and I rewrote chapter 1 in my style. It was just a writing exercise for me. But so she's rewritten chapter 1. She put that on Patreon. It's definitely a lot better than the original chapter 1, but it's still the exact same thing. Whereas I feel like she needs to be looking at it as a whole and being like, okay, does the actual arc of this story make sense? Because I would argue, now she doesn't have to take my advice. Again, I'm not published yet. I'm not her editor, but in my opinion, the chapter where she starts the story shouldn't be the start of the story. I don't think it works. But if you're going chapter by chapter, you're not looking at the overall, does this work? Does that make sense? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Let me know in the comments if you get what I'm trying to say. Thanks.
Video that there would be some changes in the artistic content in the book itself. And that is because that core team of people that help with feedback and making that outline, while I am revising and while the copy editor is editing, those people love doing the art for this thing. So they're just going to go in and do some really cool things that involve artistic storytelling along with literature-based narrative. So we're incorporating elements such as different like page borders, and we're doing that because there are scenes in the book where like it's a recollection of a memory, and so making that obvious by like art and outlining the page is going to be
okay. It should be obvious in the writing. Like, I'm not saying you can't have your nice page borders, that's a nice to have. There are books that do this, that have like different art stuff going on in the books, but it should be obvious without the artwork. Like, if you're writing a novel, the novel needs to speak for itself without the artwork, and then the artwork is like an added bonus for the person who bought the book, you know?
We're basically approaching this in the most artistic and creative way that we can, between how can we best revise this book based upon what it needs, what do we need for this book, what have we heard from people, and then what can we do to make it extra special and make that storytelling really shine as a team. And so that is how I built that 8-step revision process. We are completely discontinuing print on demand, so you will not be able to find this book on like Amazon or Barnes & Noble anymore. And that is because when we distribute the books and buy them from the printers, that profit goes directly back into our studio. So for those of you that have been wondering like, how in the world did I pull this all off? I acted in the same way a publisher would. So I did a lot of research on who do publishers use to print their books, how do they distribute their books, and so I found a method on the TikTok shop of distributing them myself. We buy the books in bulk, so we buy big shipments of like 5,500 books. Unlike an author who has published like print on demand, we retain almost all of our profit from that book, and it goes directly back to my team. So the folks that are working on this with me get royalties. We're taking our time on this next one. We're using the whole creative team, bringing on those in-house editors. So we're incorporating everything that we built up to this point into improving the book. Super excited to share those revised chapters with you guys as we go and really show people the process that we're taking and how to involve a lot of creative minds in the publication of a book and in the building of a larger series that will turn multimedia. We're going to be posting these revised chapters on our Patreon for free, open to the public. Obviously not all of them in the book. That would not be a wise decision, but enough of them to help to rebuild trust in our audience, because I screwed up, and I know, I'm sorry. Thank you if you made it this far. I appreciate the support and the feedback from everybody up to this point. Really excited to continue sharing this world with you and the best way that we can. So, welcome to the world of Guardian.
You don't need an artist to draw a scene for you to describe. You need to learn how to do that description on your own. You cannot experiment with form and artistic integration until you actually learn how to write. And this would be my argument as well, because you can so have those things in a book. Beautiful, lovely, love that for you, but you first need to learn how to write. You need to understand how to make your writing speak for itself. Writing is not an easy thing to do. It's not something you can just like pick up a pen and I mean, you can, it's just not going to be any good. Like, there is an art form to it. There's stuff you got to learn. There's so much you got to know. I mean, like, I've written so many books over the years, and I think the first book I ever wrote, I didn't bother to learn anything about the art of writing a novel. Anything I'd written up until then was a short story in like school and stuff, or for myself. And so I knew how to write a good short story. Definitely knew how to write a good short story, but writing a novel, hadn't a clue. Didn't bother to learn. Was the book any good? No. Did it make any sense? No. Did it have like a proper structure? No, it did not. It was really bad. If any of you are wondering, it was supposed to be a thriller. It was about a psychiatrist who was the main character who slowly loses her mind. And yeah, that concept sounds good, but I didn't execute it well. And also, I don't think it read like a thriller either, even though that was all I was reading at the time. Somebody else said, doing every side quest instead of just sitting down and writing. Another person saying, it's like I'm attending a corporate meeting. Somebody else saying, girl, take a breather. Stop with the art every page. Stop revising the book, art, cover, end pages, etc. and start revising the writing. You shouldn't need a drawing of a character you described to be able to write that character. That doesn't even make sense. It's giving. If you know, you know. You know? Anyway, after this, she started doing, like, actually, there was another video. I missed it in the timeline because it was pinned. This video came up as well.
My name is Audra Winter. I am the author of this book. It was released about a month ago, and I have lived through the worst week of my life because of it in the past week. And I just wanted to come on here and talk about it, and be genuine and express the things that I have been through in the past week, because I'm literally living through my worst nightmare and my biggest heartbreak. If you're not familiar, I have spent a very long time working on this world that I started building when I was 12, and I'm 22 now. And throughout that time, it is the only thing that has stayed consistent in my life. It is the only thing that I have been able to lean on every single night and say, hey, at the end of the day, I have this. And I have these stories. And even if nobody else in the world likes it, I do. And I like telling these stories. Now, I hope that other people will like it, and I would love for it to bring the same joy to other people that it brought to me. And it means a lot to me. This is not just a hobby. It is a passion. It is quite literally my entire life now. As in, right now I'm sitting...
I'm so sorry. I kind of zoned out for a second there, and it's not because of her. It's because she said it's not just a hobby, and then the radio version of Gnarly got stuck in my head, or they're like, what is the radio version? Hottie hottie, this ain't just a hobby? I'm legit. And now that's playing in my head over and over again. Let's focus on Audra.
In my room, that is my bed next to me where I sleep, and right outside of there is my office. This is my desk that I write at. I have no escape from this, and I don't need an escape from it because it does matter to me this much. This has been the thing in this world and these stories that when I have gone through the worst parts of my life, I could look over and say, well, I have this, and I have this world, and I can't die yet before I publish this and before other people can see it, because I've worked on it this much. I would really like other people to enjoy it. I would like other people to share this world that has saved my life. It is bizarre to see your will to live come alive in front of your eyes, and I started to see that back in April when I put up a pre-order listing for this book. Did not think I would sell more than 100 copies, quite honestly, and once again I posted that pre-order listing and it took off. I didn't know what to do. I was shocked. At this time, I had started to build like a team of artists, but it was informal at first because I was like, well, all these people are working on different things for this series and I might as well put them in one group. And that is what I ended up doing with all the money that came in from this book. I ended up creating a studio, a whole creative studio with this, because I decided that rather the artists that I had brought together and the artists that I saw that were bonding over these stories that I had created, people who were falling in love with this world and with these characters as much as I did in the very beginning. And I thought that was beautiful. I had, for the first time, a sense of understanding. I've kind of gone my entire life having this as such a core, fundamental part of me, and to be able to finally be recognized and let this become who I am was incredible. Even like getting on TikTok and talking about it, a lot of times I get a lot of comments that are like, how did you market it like this? And my genuine answer to that is, I don't know. I get on here and I talk about what I've done to get to this point and the different things that I love about it. It carried me far enough to get that many sales and to get that many. And I had the sense of understanding that I had never felt in my life before. And it was moving. It was shocking. It was moving. It was the amount of emotions that I was just thrown into in a short period of time, from the time that I listed that pre-order and the time that I established an LLC was 2 weeks. All of a sudden I was going into attorneys and I was like, what do I do? Like, I was not expecting this to happen. And I think I want to build a business off of this. Like, I want to keep being an entrepreneur. I want to put everything that I have, now that I have this, let's put it into this, because this is what I want to live the rest of my life around. I ended up...
She's about to use this as an excuse, right? Of like, she was so confused and she didn't know what to do. Like, she went straight into forming an LLC. You didn't have to do that, though. You didn't have to do that. You could have published the book, worked on publishing it. Hopefully it turned out well. And then, you know, once it was out there in the world, then you can look at the business aspect of things. But there's no reason that you had to do that. You could have just been a sole trader, sole proprietor, whatever. You know, like, there is no reason that you have to go, okay, well, I have to make a business now because I got so many pre-orders. No, you don't. You can just take that success and roll with that.
In late June, early July, packing and shipping and signing 5,000 books with a very small team, literally with my parents and 3 other people. Sarah, if you're watching this, I really appreciate you. In the last month, I've experienced more fear than I ever have in my entire life. That fear, I mean, surrounded the fact that I had put every single thing in me into this book, every single thing, and it is terrifying to ship 5,000 of these out to that many people at once, all receiving this highly anticipated, talked about thing.
Up to this point, I wrote multiple books. I had beta readers. I was in critique groups. I have completed a creative writing minor. I've attended conferences. I have written every single day since I was 12. I had been contracted by a literary agent and worked with developmental editors there. I made the choice to go independent when my literary agent dropped all their sci-fi fantasy writers. I could have found a new agent, but I was ready to share my story. I then hired 2 skilled industry editors both developmental and copy. I listened, I spent hours revising and changing. I wrote pages upon pages of changes from editorial notes. I got on a call with my editor, I discussed them, I changed more. I looked at and incorporated my copy editor's suggestions. I paid 2 proofreaders, I proofread. I had a team that loved it, that understood. I marketed that I wanted to break away from the industry I felt trapped under. I wrote different, I wrote to tell a story, I wrote as an art, and I tried my very best to convey to readers that I knew my writing was different. It's a difference, though, between different and not well written, unfortunately. Like, there are so many amazing books that are written differently, and like you could even say they're odd. They're odd, they're quirky, but they're still readable. And they're still enjoyable, and they're still good, and they still make sense.
Into this book, every single thing, and it is terrifying to ship 5,000 of these out to that many people at once, all receiving this highly anticipated, talked about thing. I've been on TikTok since 2018. I was there for hit or miss. I know that a lot of times, especially with like certain medias and creative avenues, it takes one negative video to spin it out of control. I actually had to go back to Kansas because I was becoming so unhealthy. I wasn't eating, and quite honestly, I'm still not. I had to go back to my parents because they were concerned about me. Everybody else was concerned about me because everybody in my personal circle knows that this is like everything to me. A couple days ago, I was up early and I was scrolling through my For You page. I unfortunately came across a video of another author talking about me. I felt something change in me that moment. The amount of like heart dropping that I felt while watching that video will stick with me forever. And I opened these comments and there's tons of people all going, I was worried about this video was about me until you said these numbers. I just sat there for a little bit and went, how can you say that you were worried that it would be you, and then proceed to turn around and say that about another author? When I saw that video, I closed out the app and I went to my studio space and I said I'm fucked. Up until this point, I had very positive reader reception. I was staying aware of what people were saying, and it was way more positive than negative. But when I saw this video and I saw the things that were being said, I knew, and literally within hours I was getting dozens of comments with pure hatred. Literally hearing some of...
If you're missing the point here, she's attributing all the negative reviews to one TikTok video somebody made. And mind you, one TikTok video somebody made where they didn't even name her. What she's saying is that not all, but most of the reviews were positive. Then somebody made a video talking about a book that wasn't good, didn't name her, didn't name the book, and then all of a sudden people started leaving negative reviews. And I'm going to call bullshit on this. Now, originally, I will admit, when I watched this video, I just took this at face value. Like, because she seems so upset, and she is so upset. Like, this is an upsetting situation. I just felt really bad for her. When I originally watched this, I felt bad for her, but after seeing more people point out the fact that, no, the reviews weren't mostly positive before one person made a video, that the reviews were mostly negative from the get-go. And seeing her trying to just blame one person rather than just admitting that the book isn't good, it's infuriating. It's infuriating, and it's just not the case, in my opinion.
The hardest things that I've ever been told in my life. Hearing from lots of people that you're a bad writer. Hearing from lots of people with no other thoughts other than saying that it reads like it was written by a 12-year-old, that it reads like it was middle school, that surely I was being a scam and I was doing this to scam people. It was the worst thing they ever read. I don't even want to say some of the things that I had heard, and I was getting harassed by certain people that were going on to every single one of my videos and commenting these like nasty, like really concerning nasty things that were not constructive criticism. Here I am being told by dozens of people all at once the hardest things that I have ever heard in my life. Like the biggest fears that I have, things that impacted me so much. I didn't know what to do. I turned to my team and I was like, I'm carrying all these people, these 20 people that I have hired as contractors and employees, and I've failed them. I did something wrong. At first, it was like, I can't tell what I did wrong because I felt like I had done everything right up to that point. I had hired editors. I had done everything that I could to my best ability because I am one person. I've never been at a mental low than I have this past week. People commenting things like, you're saying this is affecting your safety? To which my answer is, it was affecting my safety. It literally felt like I was being crushed by the world. I have never experienced heartbreak to that level. I have never experienced fear to that level. What do I do? Like, how do I respond to these people who are being, like, obviously aggressive? Because if I delete comments, people are gonna get mad at me. If I block people, people are gonna get mad at me. So how do I deal with being harassed? I'm still unhealthy from this. I'm still living in fear. Barely eaten anything in the past, like, 5 days, because this does mean this much to me.
I do think at this point, I don't want this to sound harsh, I genuinely mean this. Like, this is not a case for TikTok. In that situation, like, you need to get actual help if it is affecting you so badly that you're, like, horrifically stressed, you can't eat, it's affecting your health, it's affecting your sleep, you need to get help. You shouldn't be on TikTok. And also, it's not necessarily fair to put that on other people. I'm not suggesting that's what she's trying to do, but that is sort of what ends up happening when you say, well, this book did badly and now I'm not eating. Like, and it kind of puts that guilt onto everybody who said they didn't like the book, whether that's what she's trying to do or not. But what she really needs is help. And I don't want her to feel this way. Obviously, just because the book was bad doesn't mean she shouldn't be able to eat, right? Like, I want her to be okay. But she needs to get help for that to happen because people on TikTok are not going to be able to fix that for her. That is a situation for a mental health professional, and I mean that so genuinely.
Thing that I can be told is it's a scam. It's a market. It's a market tactic, and it's all just, she got you all. There's something that cannot be more painful than knowing that you did everything that you possibly could and still not being good enough. I had that sense of understanding and it slipped away from my fingers in a matter of hours. I couldn't handle it. I don't even know how to express this as to how much this impacted me. And I'm sure that I'll get comments on this video of like, you're too sensitive, you need to back away from your craft, and that's not what it's about for me. I have never been able to in my life because I love this project and I love these people that I have hired as employees, but really these are people that I talk to every single day and bond with and have fun with these characters and these, you know, and building this much bigger project, better than anything I ever could have imagined, where I felt seen and I felt heard, and there's people working on this with me, and that's all I've ever wanted for a very long time. And so also the terror of, am I going to lose this all? Especially when you are constantly getting comments that are like, it stops here, you're done, like, you're not recovering from this. For a little bit, I thought that was true. It felt like the world was crushing me and that there was absolutely nothing I could do, and it was the end of the line. And I couldn't see my life going back without this and without these things. I picked myself back up and I said, I'm doing everything that I can fucking possibly can to pull out of this, because I love this story and I love what I've created. I love the inspiration that I've given to people. I'm gonna make it right. I think I have lived through the worst fear that I have had throughout my entire life. For like half my life, I've lived through it and I'm done. I've had this experience and now I can move on. Now I can get up and I can go back at it stronger, and I can rebrand and do all these things and go at it with as much passion as I possibly can. Literally created.
It's concerning to me personally that she says I can rebrand. Like, I know she's just talking here and sometimes you just say things. Like, I'm not going to pick up on every single word that she's saying. Maybe it was just a thing she said. But if your focus is on rebranding rather than, and I can now make the book good, that's kind of a problem, because the focus here needs to be on the writing.
This like entire company and creative studio around this, like, as the start. So I said, you know what? We're gonna go for it. We're all gonna start working on this, and we're already all building like the rest of the series together. Let's go back and do it again. Trying to do every single thing we can, right? And from this point on, I've also learned some personal lessons. I had responded to people and been like, no, I have editors. Like, I have hired these people. I have done these things. Why is this information being like spread about me? Or people who were going after very specific things that I had done intentionally in the book, and me going, well, this is what I meant with it. And the smallest things impacted everything. And so I've learned now that I can't go into my comment sections. It's not easy working the job that I do, and I adore what I do. I do it literally all day, all night. Like, I'm in my bed, like on my studio. I'm out there packing and shipping things. My animal, for God's sake, both of them have like constellation collars. Like that is where we are at. Like, everything in my life revolves around this because it's my special interest, and I'm neurodivergent. This has been my thing my entire life. This is my entire branding as a human. With that passion and with the drive that I have to keep going, to not give up on this because I don't want to give up on my life, I've learned a very important lesson, and that's that it will happen no matter what. But I've been through it now. I've had the worst things that people have told me. I've had some really wonderful words that people have told me. It's just to give a little bit perspective of who I am as a person and what this genuinely means to me. And I hope this can shed some light on what it is truly like to be in this situation. Even though it's wonderful having all of this come in and all.
For those of you who keep theorizing as to how I started a whole creative team, no, I'm not an industry plant, and no, I'm not a grifter. I took the money I made from pre-sales and put it back into what I love the most. A six-figure business means 6 figures of revenue are going into it. I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars I'm holding on to. I have a team of international employees and contractors. I'm paying books, I'm ordering, shipping supplies, and an office space. All I care about is to be able to keep doing this. Which again to me is a red flag, because what you should care about is the writing of the book. If what you want is to be a writer, which is one of the reasons why I say she doesn't really care about being a writer, she cares about this world and being a businesswoman.
This happened. I've also allocated all of it back into my company. Like, I pay a lot of my employees more than I do myself, because this is, once again, what matters to me. I'm going to keep doing this as much as I can. As long as I can survive, I'm okay. I'll sacrifice everything that I need to in order to just give my stories to other people. People don't see the toll that takes on somebody, and the toll and the stress, and being an artist is a very strange thing in this day and age. Being both an artist and an influencer, so I can be an artist. I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you if you made it this far. Thank you for kind words. Thank you for all of those that have supported me along the way, and very encouraging things that I have heard. There are so many people, and seeing so many people waiting for me to get back up, that gave me hope. There's people out there that are recognizing like how much heartbreak this has caused and how much devastation in my life it has caused. But I would not be able to do it without the team that I have, without the artists that I bond with, without the people that have stayed with me throughout all of this and been like, no, we're here for you. And that itself is a reason to fight. Fighting to give other artists a voice and to allow them to also live their dream and to give others hope. I want to continue doing that, and I'm going to. I would die before I gave up on this thing. I hope that at least shine some light on like what this all has done to me, and how one person, one video can impact someone, especially an artist and a creative.
See, she's going back again to blaming this one video that one random person made where she wasn't even named for her entire downfall, rather than it being the book that she wrote not being good. And the thing is, even when it originally came out, people were still rooting for her to just fix it. Just fix the writing. Take as much time as you need, just go and fix the writing. But she can't seem to do that. I mean, she is like fixing some of the writing and it is better, but I just don't know if it's good enough to be what she's hoping it to be.
As authors, we should be doing better to support each other. We should be lifting each other up. We should be speaking up for each other in this time where AI is replacing a lot of our jobs and with artists. And we're not. We're becoming competitors because of this market that we have been forced into. Publishers that are quite literally, their companies, controlling how books are distributed, controlling every single thing about being an author. The way we fight it is not as indie authors bringing other indie authors down. It is lifting each other up. There's a lot of potential out there, and a lot of authors, and a lot of readers, and a lot of people who have hope in this day and age. So speak up. Act like an artist. You are allied. Authors are artists, and we have lost sense of that. We have diverged away from that into this is a job and an occupation in a market. So start becoming an artist again. Keep pushing. Because even if something is your will to live and the worst thing happens to it, you can still get back up. I'm not dying yet. I'm not dead yet. And I am not going to give up on it either. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day. Welcome to the world of Guardian. My name is...
So, like I said, when I originally watched this, I just felt bad for her. I just felt really sad about the whole situation. I took everything she said at face value, and I just felt for her. At this point, I'm a little bit jaded, given everything that happens after this. But let's take a look at some of the comments, of course. Can we please normalize getting to the point? Let the woman speak. Someone said you should consider a graphic novel, and I think that might be a good pivot because many people mentioned the White Room issue with the storytelling. I've given my thoughts on that. Based on how long this took to get to the point, I can only imagine what the writing in the book is like. I've never seen an author repeatedly say my company and my employees when talking about their books, especially when talking about how they're passionate about writing. My day job is in the corporate world, and this just felt like a team meeting. If you need that many artists, maybe it should be a graphic novel, because the rewrite doesn't need any artists or new art. The rewrite needs you, the author, some editors, proofreaders, beta readers, etc. But not artists. Can we normalize accepting that when maybe we aren't the... You could do so. Whoa. Can we normalize me speaking? Dear God. Can we normalize accepting when maybe we aren't cut out for everything we want to do? Because maybe just record and listen to it alone at night since you enjoy it. Audra, honestly, you shouldn't have published the book if it's so deeply entangled with your mental health, because obviously, as you said, the criticism was hurt you immensely. Maybe this should have been a project you kept to yourself. Essentially, to say critics are messing with your mental health is a bit unfair, as it shifts the blame to your readers who are entitled to their claims, considering they paid actual money, which in this economy is hard to come upon, you know? Of course, you're a human being and entitled to your own emotions, but I think, it's just my opinion, that if you're going to publish a book and people are using their money, surely they are entitled to share their thoughts on said book, good or bad. From what I've seen, most of the critics have been quite supportive. Obviously, there will be a few individuals who are rude, but the majority have given you the benefit of the doubt, that you're a young person and that this can be a learning curve. Ultimately, I hope you get better. And that's pretty much what I was saying too. Sorry, I've been sitting here for a long time and I needed to lean. Okay, I've been recording for longer than I think I've recorded any video ever, which was not my intention. And this has been going on so long that the sun is setting and my voice is going. I already had to pause once because my camera overheated, because I'm recording for so long. So I'm going to finish the rest of this in the morning because I think I still have a lot to say. So if in the morning I look a mess when I record, forgive me. It's because I want to spend my time actually recording the video instead of getting ready to record the video. Just like Audra should be spending her time writing the book instead of getting people to draw art of the book. See you in the morning.
Many unbearable hours later.
Good morning. So let's pick up where we left off. So after this, we got her first weekly FAQ, which was just a text post, but it's got some really important information, so we are going to read through that. First question is, what's going on with the limited edition paperback pre-order? The only change to the limited edition paperback pre-order will be its release date pushed back to spring 2026, aiming for March to April, which is already way better than December, maybe still too soon for the level of edits that need to be done, but not impossible. definitely better than December. So its content is updated to the second revised/expanded edition. All the features in the listing, cover, interior art, sprayed edges, remain the same. We have totally discontinued the first edition Age of Scorpius so we can deliver the best story possible to our readers. If you're one of the 2,000 folks who have already pre-ordered the limited edition paperback, reach out to us via a message to our TikTok shop if you'd like to update your address or cancel the order due to the delay into spring 2026. 2,000 people. Why? Why are 2,000... I can't... I mean, spend your money however you want, but why are 2,000 people pre-ordering this? It doesn't make any sense to me because I believe, if I'm not wrong, at this stage, she still hadn't uploaded any of the revised stuff to Patreon. So this is the same situation again where people are pre-ordering without seeing anything, but this time they know that the first version was terrible. So why? Why would we do this? Moving on to the second question. I've never heard of an author having employees and contractors. Where'd you get all the money for that? Good question. I'd never heard of it before either. My approach is, as far as I know, atypical in this industry. When I first hired artists for the book, I used a combination of my personal savings from my job and a scholarship from my university. I desperately need somebody to explain this to me in the comments. In America, do scholarships work differently? Because my understanding of a scholarship is that it just means you get, like, your tuition paid. And how would you get money from that? I've tried looking this up, but I can't find the info. I don't know if I'm just Googling it terribly or something. After that, pre-order sales took off, and I decided to reinvest all that revenue back into the project. That means two things. One, we are our own distributor. I ordered the books in bulk from a printer in Canada, and once I received them, we pack and ship them ourselves. While it's an immense amount of labour, it does keep a much larger portion of the profit than we would if we went exclusively through a print-on-demand service such as KDP, Ingram Spark, or Barnes & Noble Press, which, yeah, they take insanely big cuts, like huge. That profit gets put back into the project by 2, hiring on the creative team. AOS has an art creative team working on it that's much larger than most book series get. It's such a lovely thing to do if you can, but I just personally believe this is not the smartest business decision. You don't know how the next book is going to go, and, like, yes, reinvest that money back into your art and stuff, but you need to keep some money for, like, the second release, because what if you don't make any extra money and you still need to hire editors and, you know, get some art done if that's what you want. Hiring a whole team just seems unnecessary and like a bad business decision, especially off of the first book, but I'm not a businesswoman, so I can't tell you for sure. I believe in the power of creative people coming together to build what we love, and we aim to make our company a manifestation of that. When you buy a book from us, the money goes to us and our eco-friendly printer. That's it. No big cut to a large company like Amazon. I mean, that's great. You don't necessarily need a whole team of artists for that. Like, obviously, if you want art, hire artists, but you don't need a whole, what it sounds like, full-time team. Now, that's just an assumption, but... Next question. Are you following the rules with TikTok's TOS for your pre-orders? Now, you're going to need a little bit of context for this, because she is taking her pre-orders through TikTok Shop, which is something I did not know existed until this situation happened. I'd heard people say TikTok Shop before, but for some reason my brain is stupid, and I just thought that meant that people were, like, linking to products just in their bio or whatever. No, it's a whole thing where you can shop on TikTok. So she's doing it there. Now, there are some different terms of service on TikTok Shop. One of those being that you have to ship out the orders within a certain amount of time. So to get around that, Audra is taking the pre-orders, but she's shipping bookmarks to everybody as soon as the order is made. So therefore, she can mark it as fulfilled for TikTok Shop, but still send the actual book, which is what people wanted, not the bookmark, much later when the book is out. So people were questioning whether this was a violation of TikTok's terms of service, and if based on that they would be able to get refunded, or some people even suggesting that she could get in huge trouble for this. So Audra's response is, yes, we have been careful to ensure that all our listings clearly state that they are pre-orders in the name, description, and images. We will explicitly outline that we send a pre-package with a bookmark, print, and note for seller fulfillment. As I said, once the book is printed, the book is sent in a separate package. I'm not the first or only author selling on TikTok to use this method. See D.A. White Writes, Ty Turner's books, and more books by Ore Dines, Juliana, blah, 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 blah. Lots of people. Listings on the TikTok shop must be manually approved by TikTok before going public, and ours have been approved multiple times. The TikTok shop's official pre-order feature, where the 60-day rule applies, is currently only available to select sellers, not including us. This is a different listing option built in the TikTok shop, and does not allow us to send our pre-packaged bubble mailer with a bookmark, note, and print. So she's claiming that because it's been approved by TikTok, it is okay with the TOS. I cannot confirm or deny. I do not work for TikTok. Shocking information, I know. The next question on this is, do you delete comments and reviews on TikTok? She says, I don't look at my comments past the first 10 to 20 minutes of a new post because of the amount of traction I have right now. The only comments I delete contain personal information about me or my team, which is fair enough, I would say. If you posted a comment that doesn't contain that and it gets deleted, it was likely flagged by TikTok's anti-bullying protections. Those are controlled by an algorithm, so sometimes it flags comments it shouldn't and doesn't flag comments it should. Sellers on the TikTok shop do not have the power to delete reviews. I understand there is also concern that our pre-order process has the intent to create false positive reviews due to the 60-day limit on reviewing a product after delivery, which begins after the delivery of the bookmark package, not the actual book. I have 3 responses to this. 1. This was absolutely never my intention, but I can understand how it looks shady. 2. Customers are able to edit their review at any time once submitted, and several people did so, reviewing the book's content once it arrived. I had a listing that wasn't a pre-order. The misprints of the first edition AOS, now sold out, had a 4.8 star rating with 10 reviews, several of them mentioning the story. Ultimately, my goal is not to prevent people from giving honest feedback. Listening to that very feedback that has led me to making the revised edition. Now, I would say, right, this is all well and good. I'm glad people can edit their reviews, but this goes with the assumption that somebody is going to get the bookmark and think to themselves, oh, I better review the bookmark so that when the book gets here, I can edit my review. Most people aren't going to do that, so it is, like, it probably wasn't intentional on her part. I believe her there, but it definitely isn't a case of like, well, everyone's just going to be able to review it anyway, because if they didn't make a review when they got the bookmark, they won't be able to make that later on. They can only edit a review they already did. So somebody asked, why did I pay $50 for this book? And this was a big gripe that people had. The first edition hardcover was a discounted $27.99 book sold at $23.99 for the entire duration of its pre-order period. This did not include shipping, which can vary depending on the buyer's location. The price of shipping is set by the TikTok shop. Whoa, that is getting harder and harder to say, lads. I imagine some folks did pay an amount close to $50 if they live far away, Alaska or Hawaii for instance, but this was not the norm. Somebody asked, why did you raise the price of the second revised expanded edition hardcover, which I think was definitely a choice, as I have made very clear. The revised edition will cost more to print as it will have a higher page count due to extra content. However, you just said that you're going to get a higher profit margin because you're not going to be using any print-on-demand services that take a huge cut. So you're actually, like, you're getting all that money back. So if the book's not actually costing more in this case because you're printing it all yourself, so you're making more money off each book. So this is feeling like a little bit of spin to me, alright. Yes, it's going to have a higher page count due to extra content, but you're still making more per book because you're not giving a cut to Amazon or Ingram Spark or Barnes & Noble. Like, it's giving spin, okay? I'm also welcoming an experienced copy editor and proofreader into our team, and I want to compensate them fairly. However, I have listened to the frustration around this decision, and I realise I need to focus on re-establishing reader trust. To that end, I'm lowering the price of the second edition hardcover to $24.99, previously $29.99. Okay, for new buyers. Buyers of the first edition are still eligible to pre-order the second edition at $15 with an optional free digital copy of the revised second edition. Check the link tree in my bio to access these discounts. If you are one of the 25 people who have already purchased a revised hardcover here on TikTok, send us a message through TikTok shop and we can help you out. So 25 people have ordered the revised hardcover. So that's feeling more like the numbers I was expecting. Can you explain what went wrong with the first edition of Age of Scorpius? Let's see what the excuse is this time. It will change again. Don't worry. I've spent a lot of time reflecting on this question in the past 2 weeks. My developmental editor said the plot was ready, but recommended a strong copy edit before publication. Even though I hired a copy editor and proofers, the final phase of implementing their suggestions overlapped with the deluge of thousands of unexpected book pre-orders. I was suddenly in a frenzy with establishing a business, setting up payroll, packing and shipping thousands of bubble mailers, and adapting to the shock of my entire life being turned upside down in a matter of weeks. In retrospect, I was exhausted and overwhelmed, but I felt immense pressure to deliver to all my new readers. I thought I was putting my best effort into finalizing the copy edits and proofing, but failed to recognize the external factors implementing my overall health and mindset. Unfortunately, I genuinely had no clue that this was a problem until the books were in people's hands. I really do not want this to happen again, and that's why I'm extending the timeline into next spring, so I have time to do this revision properly. This is important, because this is the only time she's pretty much, in a very long-winded way, admitted to not properly editing the book. In my opinion, right? I gotta be very careful here. In my opinion, here she is admitting to not properly editing the book. Because what she's saying, right? Even though I hired a copy editor and proofers, the final phase of implementing their suggestions overlapped with the deluge of thousands of unexpected book pre-orders. Meaning, she was so focused on the book pre-orders, on setting up a business, which again, as I already said, nobody asked her to do that and she didn't have to do that. Doing all of this business stuff that she didn't have to do and should have just focused on the book, in my opinion, that she didn't have the energy, the time, the mental capacity to deal with the edits properly, which, once again, in my mind, is the most important part, is actually finishing the book, not setting up payroll and hiring employees. So if she had just focused on the book, maybe we could have avoided this. I don't know. This answer is going to change later, by the way. Another question. Did you scam people when you crowdfunded for a service dog? I'm not going to go into this one too much. So basically, people found her personal account, which had her real name, which she doesn't want to be public or associated with the book. So we're not going to go there. I haven't gone looking for that myself. But on this, she had posted about a service dog and she had raised money to help pay for the service dog that she needed. And because of this and some other issues around it, people were suggesting that this was a pattern of her scamming. Now, I don't think this is any of our business. I understand why some people think that this is relevant if they do think she's a scammer. However, I don't think she's necessarily a scammer. And I think this is her personal life and probably shouldn't be brought into it at all. And then it just ends with, send us your questions. So, of course, comments, guys. Comments. Hiring artists using your university scholarship. What? Not taking any of the editor notes is a really odd corner to cut. I would have to agree. And here's the question on everyone's mind. Why is there so much emphasis on churning out more artwork and other content unrelated to the actual content of the book when everyone's complaint was that the writing style / content of the story needed to be fixed, not the old art that was already included? This seems like an excuse to raise the price due to there being more pages and potentially the same quality of writing, which is the main reason people are upset. So then we got another weekly update after that, and this one is shorter. Have you hired an editor? I found an editor outside of the fanbase / booktok, thank God, who has no involvement and no knowledge of the world of Guardian before release, which This is a good thing. At least she took that feedback on board. I'll be working closely with her one-on-one for developmental, copy, and line editing. So she's doing everything. Just so you know, in case you're not in this world, usually, not always, editors will focus on one. So you'll have a developmental editor, and that's usually what people are referring to when they say, like, I'm working with my editor. Because the developmental one is the one that you need to be working with really closely to work on the actual structure of the story and the characters and the story itself. Copy and line editing, those will be another 2 separate editors normally. And then you get like proofreaders and beta readers and all of that afterwards. If you have any questions for her and how she intends to approach the project, she'll be doing a Q&A. Please leave your questions in the comments below for our new editor, Caitlin, to answer next week. Next question is, you've been real quiet. You've been real quiet. What's going on? Behind the scenes, we've been making tons of positive changes. I spent a lot of time working on chapter 1 with the guidance and knowledge from both the creative team and my new editor. I just need a few more days to really give my all to pushing through and powering forward. We'll answer more questions later this week. Right now, I am placing my focus and energy on editing and setting out a plan moving forward for how to best improve and strengthen my writing. Stay tuned, we have some exciting updates coming this week. And then ends again with send us your questions. Now, you may notice that Q&A with the editor is not here. So that is not because it wasn't posted, that's because she deleted it. Unfortunately, I did not take screenshots of this at the time because I just didn't think it was going to be deleted because Audra's pretty much kept everything else up. But what happened here, and I will add it in if I can find the screenshots, but to summarize it for you, it was a Q&A with the editor. Basically, they just ended up blaming the previous editors for everything that went wrong with the book. They were like, the editors did not give enough feedback, didn't give enough this or that, and that's why. And I was shocked by how bad the feedback was. So, you know, it's all their fault, basically. And people were not happy with that, as you can see, and it's gone. So then we get to this video from Audra, the one with 71.5k views, and I have to admit, I hate this video so much. You'll see why I hate this video so much, but let's just watch.
I believe I've been improperly introduced to you. I'm a 22-year-old entrepreneur, writer, and naturalist. Some of my favorite things are wolves, ecology, my dog, the ocean, and, of course, writing. You probably know me from that last one. In the past month or so, I have become known for what is literally my worst nightmare. So obviously, we took some time to calm down and talk with the studio and make some plans, hire an editor. So now, let me tell you exactly what my goal is, what my intentions are, and who I am. I'm a full-time author and founder of a creative studio with artists from across the world, all working to develop a literature-based multimedia series centered around the zodiac-based fantasy world that I began developing when I was 12. I want my novels to be a blend of narrative prose and artistic storytelling. My chapters are written out like a normal fiction book, but there are also critical parts of the story that are told by illustration. My aim is to uphold artistic kinship, collaboration, imagination, and innovation. I am absolutely dedicated to pioneering a new avenue of publishing that equalizes the storytelling between both writers and artists.
I wanted to let this play out and comment afterwards, but I have to say it drives me insane how she is calling this pioneering a new form of publishing. Like, this hasn't been done already. She is saying that, like, having something that is mostly a novel but with illustrations and things that help to guide the story is entirely new. It is not. It's been done. You're not pioneering anything. You've just clearly not done your research into this product that you're trying to create, because you are seeing it as a business. But if you want to be a business if you want to be a business I was trying to say woman, you need to do your research. Like, that is one of the biggest parts. You need to do your market research. You got to see what's already out there, what's not. How do you actually set yourself apart? Because this has been done. It's not new. It's not like super common, but it does exist, and it's just, that's a whole lot of ego and ignorance to claim that you are the first one doing it, and it kind of leans into my assumption that she doesn't read a lot. I'm sorry, but I feel like I'm being mean, so I'm gonna say something nice, which is that I really like this haircut on her. And her cat is really cute, so.
So how'd I get here? While the short answer is a couple of scholarships, there is a much larger story to be told. When I listed the pre-order for my debut novel, it instantly took off, even when I wasn't expecting to sell more than 100 copies at most. Instead of printing my books on demand, I contacted a large book printer that publishers use and ordered my stock of books to independently distribute. This allowed me to retain a significant portion of the profit made from a book sale, and I did all of this on a very small initial budget by pre-funding from the books themselves. I ended up selling thousands of copies of my debut within a matter of 3 months. Prior to its formal release, The Age of Scorpius had over 7,000 pre-orders. If you're wondering what I did with all that money, I turned it right back into my company. I established a creative studio, hiring a global team of artists of both contractors and employees aiming to further develop the series. Starting in April, I was actively establishing my business and creative studio, managing finances, marketing, team managing, revising and editing, coordinating communications, and somehow also managing to pack and ship 7,000 bubble mailer pre-packages for the pre-orders before the books had even arrived to me. I delivered 5,000 highly anticipated brand new books to thousands of people all at once. I did everything I could to make the book the best version of itself that it could be.
I did everything I could, besides spending the time necessary to implement the edits that my editors suggested because I was busy setting up a business. This is why indie authors use print on demand. Like, so great if you have the resources to print yourself and like cut out the middleman and everything, but if you can't do that and at the same time write the book, then it's not the right method for you. I'm sorry, it's just not. Like, do you see me here trying to print out all my own books and ship them myself and do everything myself? No, because I'm already doing enough and I want to write the book. I really want to write the book. So, like, that is my focus. And do I take a cut from my potential profits from that? Yeah. I don't expect to earn that much money from this. I want the book out and I want it to be readable and good, you know?
Developmental and a copy editor, and I ended up spending days straight in my cafe for months on end. So what went wrong, and why am I getting all this criticism? I realized a severe and critical error in my book. During the process of being thrown into the position as a business owner in April and May, I was also in the final copy edit and proofing stages of the book. From the amount of shock and exhaustion I was going through, I failed to give that critical process my full attention and fell short without even realizing it until after the...
I failed to give the critical process of editing my full attention. Yet I'm somehow still claiming that I did everything I possibly could to make this book as good as it could be. Everything I could, except for editing. The most vital part. It's driving me insane. You see why I just began to get jaded after all this time and just stop feeling sympathy? Because it's all very self-inflicted, in my own personal opinion.
Book was in people's hands and this all started. If you want to know more about what exactly went wrong, we have now posted the first revised chapter to Patreon for free. Anybody can access it. And we've also posted the editor notes from both April and May in comparison to the editor notes from our editor now. I've received a ton of amazing feedback. I've talked about this in other videos and how we're actually incorporating it. But we have literally gone through every corner of the internet and found the critique from our reader base and from the audience and put them in a document. And we're having discussions as a team. I'm having one-on-one discussions with my editor. We're incorporating that. And I just wanted to say, like, genuinely, thank you so much for that feedback, because I am looking to improve as a writer and I've been given this chance to improve as a writer, and I am super grateful for that. And I'm super grateful for the people who are willing to give us a second chance and give me a second chance as a writer. I love my team. I love my team and I love what I do. It is every single thing to me. It is my entire heart and soul. 100% of my time, every waking hour and minute goes to this. So let's try this one more time. My name is Audra Winter and welcome to the world of Guardian.
See what I mean? Really good haircut on her. However, my main reason that I don't like this video is that it's really, 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 really giving pure and emotional manipulation. Here, let me tell you and show you how hard this has been on me. Let me play this really, really loud, sad music and just see if I can make you feel bad for me and connect with me on a personal level so that hopefully that will sell the books. That's what I'm not claiming that that was the intention, but that's what it feels like to me. Anyway, that disappeared on me, but I wanted to read the comments. Talk with the studio? Girl, just write the book. The CEO talk from a 22-year-old self-declared prodigy is so off-putting. I have to agree. Girl, who are you sending these Snapchats to? I mean, I'm sure she has friends. Let's be nice here. Entrepreneur is the red flag. I have to agree. Why is the editor Q&A gone now? Let's see what people respond to this. Must have received a letter from the editors that she blamed. She got a cease and desist. This is all just speculation. The humble brag in the Snapchat screenshots. Lol, are you willing to accept criticism on the revised chapter? I read it and have some major concerns. It is still very, very far from something ready to be published, in my opinion. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but there's a little sense of irony in the fact that she introduced herself as an entrepreneur before she says writer. So here we have the Patreon that she was talking about, the World of Guardian LLC. And I have to say, this is one of those things that with the TikTok and with Patreon and putting everything as LLC is one of the biggest red flags for me, because a lot of creatives are LLCs, right? Like a lot of YouTubers even are LLCs. I'm not, because it could not be arsed, but a lot of them are. You don't see like Jacksepticeye changing his YouTube handle to Jacksepticeye LLC. He might not be an LLC, he might be something else, but you know what I mean? You don't see like Markiplier LLC. Why are you nobody does that. It's really weird, and it's just really giving like, oh, see, I'm a business, I'm an entrepreneur. That's all I really care about. Anyway, you can see it titles itself as a creative studio developing a Zodiac-based fantasy series with 834 members now. There has been some confusion about this because those 834 members are not paid. Most of them are free. And I could see it before. There you go. 834 total members and 9 paid members. So people are claiming she's making bank on this, but you can pretty easily see it's only 9 paid members. And I think the tiers are just like $2 and $1. Yeah, $3 and €6.50. Sorry, €3 and €6.50 is the highest one. So, you know, she's not making bank. Who we are. The World of Guardian LLC is a multimedia creative studio founded by author and creator Audra Winter. We're a team of 20 plus illustrators, musicians? Girl, what are you doing with musicians?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
It's a book. I mean, like, I've been making music for my book, but that's because I enjoy doing that. I don't think I'm gonna post it, but like it's fun for me, and I finished a degree in music composition for film and game. So like it's something I do. I'm not out here hiring musicians because I'm like, yeah, this book needs musicians. But this is probably because she, as she has said previously, she wants this to be a multimedia franchise. She wants it to go into multiple things. So she's probably thinking way ahead, which Audra, I don't, and she should not be watching this video. I mean this with the utmost sincerity. You are not a good businesswoman. You need to go take a course, a class, learn about business, because you're making all the wrong decisions here. And I'm not claiming that I'm a wonderful businesswoman. I'm not claiming to be a businesswoman. I'm definitely not. But you are making really horrid decisions. You don't hire the people before you do the project. What are the musicians doing on your team? I'm so confused about this. Anyway. Musicians, animators, and designers collaborating and creating in the world of Guardian, a futuristic society on Earth where zodiac-based magic replaces technology. Our team aims to bring Guardian stories to life through cross-media artistic collaboration, powered by the groundbreaking. I just made some cookies, maybe that's why. The groundbreaking success of Winter's debut novel, The Age of Scorpius. What? I don't mean to laugh. I'm genuinely confused by this because I haven't read this about. I just wanted to get into some of the posts. What are we measuring groundbreaking success on? Like the number of pre-orders? Because I don't think that's the only measure of success. And in my opinion, like this debut novel is a generational failure. Like this is so bad that this video has propelled people's YouTube careers from talking about her. This is a generational flop. This is not a success story. It's just delusional. And I think she's using this language because she wants to portray herself in that business way to, you know, potential investors. We'll get there. We'll get there. I'm not pulling that out my ass, by the way. Our all-human team is proudly, radically anti-AI and a fully independent company established by imaginative creative voices from across the world, which would be a good thing if you were in that stage of your career, but you're not. You've had to pull your first book because it was so bad. About our Patreon, I, Audra, have unleashed the entire studio team upon this page. Like a horde of ghosts? It's early, guys. It's really early. Which is probably a bit risky, but here we are. Posts may include content such as work in progress, peeks for book art, concept development, and project building. Behind the scenes content from shenanigans that happen in our studio. Exclusive looks at canon scenes and art from the main series. This means you get content between the book releases. Looking at you, people who are asking me when the second book comes out a whole week after release. First look at new products, merchandise, and snippets from upcoming works, and plenty more. Because this team likes to create monstrosities, masterpieces, when I look away, content will be specified if it is canon or not. Posts may be from any of the creatives involved. This is a shared page where we continue to expand the stories of Guardian into our larger multimedia project. All proceeds from Patreon are directly returned to our artists. Thank you for your support and welcome to the world of Guardian. What about the musicians? Are they getting paid? So you can look, it's lots of art stuff, world building, post delay, announcing the $2 tier, comment policy. Now this was one that annoyed a few people, so we're going to read this. Comment policy. Hello everyone, Elrose here. After much internal discussion, we've decided on a new rule. We'll no longer be accepting critiques on this page. We have heard a great deal of feedback from readers both here and on social media. Some has been respectful and appreciated, some less so. There comes a time when the deluge is no longer helpful, and the comment section has begun to resemble a public critique workshop. There is no possible way to meet every reader's requests, suggestions, and individual taste. We're a team of professionals, and we have a specific creative vision to pursue. When we're ready for outside feedback on the revised edition, we will recruit beta readers. Rest assured that this Patreon will be one of the places we source such readers when the time comes. In the meantime, if you want to discuss your critical thoughts on the Age of Scorpius or its author, there are many places to do that elsewhere. We will now be deleting any comments with unsolicited advice or critique. If someone repeatedly violates this rule, they will be banned. I understand that this may seem harsh to some, particularly in light of the problems in the first edition, but it is not a norm in any creative industry to bombard an artist with an avalanche of unasked for critique. It has become so severe across multiple platforms that it has interfered with Audra's motivation and morale. To make the book that we all want to see, we need to close the windows for a while and focus updates on revisions, progress, world building, and art will continue. But I so read that terribly. But this is going to be a space for discussion, questions, and appreciation, not critical feedback or advice on our process. If there comes a time when we want that, we will explicitly ask for it. This is an important boundary during a storm of bad press. If after reading this you decide to stick around for the journey ahead, you have my deepest gratitude. From Elrose, illustrator and project manager. Now, you can understand why this was an unpopular choice on their part, because people have a lot to say and it feels like silencing them. However, I don't know how I feel about this. I kind of go back and forth between thinking that maybe it's not the best thing to do and thinking, well, this is just supposed to be a space to share things. It's not the space for critique. And if they are getting beta readers and stuff like that, maybe it is okay. But, you know, got 15 likes. Comments have been disabled, though. There was originally comments. I guess they didn't want the people sharing feedback on the people sharing feedback post. Now, amidst all the other updates that they're getting on this, they're pretty active here. We also got the revised chapter 1. So obviously content could still change, but you can see it here in all its beautiful glory. I have read through this and it is better than the original by far. Like I already said, I think I still wouldn't start this book here, but I'm not the one writing the book. And I also did go ahead and, as I said, rewrote the first chapter in my style. So if anybody wants to hear that, just let me know. I'll tell you. It's not because I think my version is better. It genuinely was just a writing exercise for me. I've been working on my own book for so long, and the second book in the series for so long, that I just thought it would be good to do something else, and this seemed like a fun little writing exercise to like just completely redo this in my style. So if you want to hear it, if you're interested, just tell me. But yeah, it is an improvement, right? Definitely an improvement. I don't know why it has to be fully formatted from the get-go. I think that is silly, especially if like, okay, so you have like all the page numbers here and stuff, right? What if you go back and you have to change this and then the page count ends up being different and then you have to fix all the page counts for all the chapters? Just doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't feel like the most efficient way to do this, but if this process works for them, this process works for them. Okay, I just feel like doing it chapter by chapter rather than looking at the book as a whole isn't the right way forward, in my opinion. So right now, the opinion around Audra and the Age of Scorpius is mostly negative. There are people on her side, but a lot of people just have issues with the way she's going about all of this, saying that she should just be focusing on writing the book rather than doing all this business stuff. But in the meantime, some very smart people on TikTok have picked up some information that really play into my opinion and a lot of people's opinion, that Audra just cares about being a businesswoman and doesn't care about being a writer and the craft of writing. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier when I mentioned investors. I was not joking. So let's have a look, shall we?
Welcome back. Bet you didn't expect to see me so soon. This is a posting from angelinvestor.us or something. It's a like Kickstarter-esque platform, but specifically for people looking for angel investors to invest a large amount of money, I assume. And this is a post from the World of Guardian on this website. So let's break this down. The synopsis says, a multimedia literature-driven creative studio and publishing imprint, interesting, with a team of 20 plus illustrators, musicians, animators, and editors. Interesting that all of those came before editors. And designers aiming to bring fantasy stories to life by merging the publishing and art industries. Okay. Here is their selling points. They made $200,000 from April to July solely on the pre-order of 7,800 sold products.
So there we're getting a more accurate number from what we can see here, unless it's a lie, but it would be ridiculous to lie here. That Audra sold 7,800 pre-order copies of The Age of Scorpius without anyone having ever read it. That is huge. And then she made $200,000 on that. What is the profit margin there? But hold on. So we have $200,000 divided by 7,800 equals 25. Huh. Wait, I'm confused by this. So is she making a profit of $25 per book when she's saying that the pre-order book was sold at $23? Then how is she making a profit of $25,000? Like, I know this is rough numbers, right? It's not exactly $200,000. But is she saying that that is the profit? Because even that not being the profit, even that being the gross income, right? All the money that was earned from the pre-orders, not including like the money that goes to the printer and to this and that. That doesn't make sense if the book was $23.99.
Through the TikTok shop in a way that we all at this point assume is breaking TOS, but okay. Thousands of people are watching us and awaiting our next
Well,
project.
reading it again, she's not claiming it's the profit. That's just the amount made. Is it just under 200,000 and she rounded it up to 200,000 and it's slightly more than 7,800 people, maybe?
That is not why we're all watching you, bestie. No. Experienced team of creatives fighting for independence in the arts. That much may be true. The other people on your team, I don't believe that's why Audra's in this at this point. They are asking for $10,000 per investor.
Minimum.
And a total of $70,000. So they're looking for 7 investors to invest, well, at least 7 investors to invest $10,000 apiece. This is crazy. This is crazy. I also have to highlight specifically that when you click on this and go further into the pitch, you also see that they have listed, quote, setting the path for a new literature-based genre of art consumption as one of their objectives. And I have something to say about that specifically. So
this is what I was talking about earlier with her saying that she's pioneering a whole new thing. This person here actually gives an example of a book that's already doing that. I don't have on hand any examples of those kind of books. I just don't have any. But she gives one here.
Her big, poetic, sweeping, dramatic update video from a couple of weeks ago, Audra mentioned this, that she was setting the path for a new form of artistic literature. And I just have to point something out. You are not. Artistic novels already exist, and I have an example. This is from my library. It is Hio and the Hellmaker by Mina Ikemoto Ghosh, and it is an artistic novel that is published. This came out actually a couple of months ago, and what Audra is claiming that she is groundbreaking and setting the path for already exists.
You can see it right
it's
there.
It's already a thing, honey. And this is not the only example, like by far, absolutely not the only example, just one that I had on hand. So yeah, stop trying to set yourself up to be some literary genius, trailblazer. That's not what you are. And it's admirable that this is what you want to do, if it actually is, because at this point I think it's just about the money. But don't step on the shoulders of other figures in the literary community and claim that you are doing it first. You're not. And at this point, I really have an issue. It is very upsetting to me, like very frustrating to me. And I'm going to keep calling it out. Sorry, not sorry.
For whatever reason, I cannot find the original posting from the US angel investor platform. For some reason, I can only find this on the Angel Investment Network on the Irish version of the site, which is irishinvestmentnetwork.ie. I don't know if that's just location based, that I can only see the Irish stuff and I can't see the US stuff. But here it is anyway. I assume they pull this from the overall network and not like that Audra has gone and like put this on all the country's investment things. So that note, I believe, I have to sign up. Okay guys, look, I made a profile. Short summary. A multimedia, literature-driven creative studio and publishing imprint with a team of 20 plus illustrators, musicians, animators, editors, and designers aiming to bring fantasy stories to life by merging the publishing and art industries. I ran through that super fast because it was already read to you. There you can see the thing about made $200,000 with 7,800 pre-orders. Groundbreaking, blah, blah, blah. So this is all in euros, not US dollars now for the breakdown here. So it's saying that the target is €60,000. The minimum is €9,000 per investor. The investment raised is 0. The previous round is 0. And very importantly here, it says that the investor role is monthly. So they want a monthly contribution of €9,000 or $10,000 minimum. But obviously at the moment, they're not making any money because who is going to look at this, Google World of Guardian, find all the drama and be like, this seems like a good idea. Nobody, absolutely no investor worth their salt is going to put their money in this. I wouldn't. My whole reasoning for this is that I just wanted to prove that this is real. Obviously there's no confirmation from Audra herself that she's done this, but it would be kind of weird if somebody did this and it wasn't real. But yeah, so this is a real listing that is online. I just cannot see the American version of it. So it's not a hoax from this TikToker, so we can rule that out right away.
When I thought this couldn't get any more shocking, it got so much more shocking. Audra Winter is now seeking $70,000 in investment from angel investors. I have some thoughts about this, specifically because I consider myself a writer. Obviously, I'm not published. That doesn't matter. What does matter is that I have worked in the startup space for over a decade. The startup I'm with, we have raised over $12 million, and my husband co-founded a startup, and he's raised just under $1 million. My thoughts. First level thought is I think it's really interesting that she still isn't calling herself really an indie author or a writer, very much into the entrepreneurial thing. One, I wonder where that comes from. Is she surrounded by business people? Maybe her parents are business people. I don't know. She's refusing.
Personally, I don't think her parents are business people because surely they would step in and tell her how monumentally stupid all the decisions that she's making are if they were business people. Maybe they're not good business people, but I feel like that is the case. And again, this is just me speculating, so.
Really? To say she's a writer first, she's an entrepreneur with an LLC. Two, if you're writing a book and you want help with paying for things to get the book out there, there's already a way to do that. Essentially, there's already investors that will help authors do that. They're publishers. So there's already an avenue for this.
But Audra wasn't able to traditionally publish, probably because, like she said in her own words, she doesn't want to write anything besides this world. Most publishers aren't going to agree to that. Plus the fact that she's had such a bad release, her writing is not good. It's going to be very hard for a publisher to take that on.
I'm just wondering why she's not taking that avenue and instead is seeking $70,000 from 10 angel investors. It's just interesting. That's all. I just think it's interesting. The second is that she really doesn't like feedback. We all know it. We've all seen it in how she reacts to criticism. But also her latest post on her Patreon is one that says we will not be accepting feedback anymore in the Patreon. And this is to protect Audra's mental well-being. They're saying that if you leave feedback, it will be deleted. And if you keep leaving feedback, they're going to ban you. If you think it's hard to deal with customer feedback, just wait until you have to deal with investor feedback. The other is that she told her people she would be regularly posting updates. The last update has been delayed because she's not feeling well. So there's just not an update. When you have to update investors, and I'm not feeling well, there's no update. That's going to be harder to get away with. My last thought is, could this work? Could she actually get investors behind her? Possibly. I could see a world where some investors see that she does indeed.
She may think she sees this path. I don't see it happening. And currently she has no investors, which is probably good because, yeah, she would have to take feedback from them. She would have to answer to them. They would have a stake in the business. That's what an investor is. Like, you're not just running everything yourself and making all the decisions at that point. The investors have a big role in that now.
Have a lot of eyeballs on her. She has a lot of attention, and that is an opportunity. I could totally see hiring, if you can, with $70,000, an excellent ghostwriter who writes the entire thing. You know, I'm sure she'll have some input and some say, but essentially other people will be writing the book and they'll write it very well. It'll be a very good story. And it has to be. If it looks like she's coming back with a fantastic story that is like excellent on pacing, excellent on character arcs, has an amazing plot, just an all-around objectively amazing story, I could see that working. I could see it eventually finding not only a new audience, but people like me We're making videos about it. We'll make videos about it. It'll get talked about in the book talk space. The comeback will get talked about, and I'm sure money could be made that way. Is that likely to happen? I don't know. I'm not an investor. As of right now, and I've put a lot of thought into this, these are just like my high level reactionary thoughts. That's really the only way right now that I could see this working. You would have to come back with not even a good product, an amazing product that everybody talks about. Again, really, at least 80% of people talking about it all agree, yeah, this is actually an excellent book, 5 stars, love this book, would recommend, would read again. Would this be a business opportunity that you would partake in? Again, my concern is how this affects indie authors. It's not a good look. From here to here, these are all indie books that I bought on TikTok. I'm just gonna say again, this is the only indie book that I bought that I was shocked by, that I thought was terribly written. Every other book that I've gotten indie has been a good read. That's just what concerns me about this situation. If you're still watching this, you're probably an indie author yourself and are interested in the situation, because I do have a pretty extensive background in like the startup space. I've seen how startup-y things can benefit indie authors when it comes to like product and marketing, customer acquisition, customer lifetime value, that kind of thing. I thought it would be nice if I could make some videos that could be helpful for you guys. If you're actually interested in that, let me know. I'd be happy to give my thoughts and stuff and hopefully be helpful.
You know, I was very empathetic with Audra Winters at the very beginning, whenever the whole thing blew up with the book and how badly it was received by everybody that read it or had ordered it. But now I'm to the point where I'm just tired of seeing all these excuses that she's given left and right, blaming all the external circumstances without even taking any direct accountability for the fact that she needs to work on her writing. Collectively, all the people that have read it have all agreed that it was just subjectively badly written, unfortunately, and she just didn't want to hear it. That seems to be the truth of it. She just did not want to hear it based off how defensive she got from the very beginning, until she got enough pushback that she said, fine. And now I feel like all these posts that she's been doing is like just to get her viewers to shut up about it, to show like, hey, I am doing something about it. But now we have this new editor, Caitlin, and she's the one that's been answering the Q&As on the recent posts on Audra's page. And there was the recent post that really rubbed me the wrong way was when she was asked what went wrong with the first round of edits with the previous editors. And she threw the editors under the bus, saying that they did not do enough editing, like it needed to have more editing, and that they still gave the go-ahead to Audra. And to me, that doesn't sound right, because how did 2 editors that she had at the time not thoroughly go through it? And somehow this new editor is going to do that differently? When she literally had one of the editors from the Hunger Games, and everybody, like a massive amount of people, loved the Hunger Games because it was written well enough for YA. And the other thing that Caitlin, the editor, did on there was also throw some other authors under the bus. She was comparing Audra as an author to Rebecca Yarros and Lauren Roberts, and how she knows how Audra had put all this work into her world building, which is something that Yarros and Roberts don't do.
I so forgot that happened. Yet Rebecca Yarros is the author of Fourth Wing, if you didn't know. Now, that's a book I really enjoy, right? I know it's not for everybody. I know it's not like one of the best written things ever. But for me, a book doesn't necessarily have to be like an amazing, well-written piece. Sometimes I just want to have fun, and that's the kind of book that I have fun with, right? I like that book. I still haven't finished the second one because I found that one a little bit sluggish. But beyond the point, that is undeniably a really successful book series. Rebecca Yarros, whether you like her writing or not, whether you like Fourth Wing or not, she has written something that has mass market appeal. So to compare Rebecca and Audra and say, well, Audra spent more time on the world building, like she really cares about that, and Rebecca didn't. Well, clearly Rebecca did something right and Audra did not. Otherwise, Audra would have a more successful launch, and Rebecca Yarros wouldn't. That's just the fact of the matter. Now, there is obviously marketing and all of that, but like, nobody is gonna keep pushing the book out if it's bad. And we saw that with Audra herself, because her book was marketed well. It had a huge pre-release sort of campaign going on. 7,800 pre-orders, unheard of in the indie space. That is a lot. She could have been on all the bestseller lists. She could have maybe gotten picked up by a traditional publisher. She could have sold way more books, launched a successful franchise, except the book wasn't good. You don't lose all that momentum when the book is good. You lose it because the book is not good, and that is what happened.
And also even said how Audra constantly reads in her fantasy genre, but she can tell that Yarros doesn't. How can you tell? As somebody that reads, when you read the book, already the way it's structured, that tells you, okay, this person at least has a knowledge of how a fantasy novel is done, right? Okay, let's compare Audra's and Yarros's books. Now, I haven't read Fourth Wing, but obviously it was received well by people. I'm sure those that have read it have said they love it because they were able to connect to the story. Even if the world building was lacking for a fantasy setting, the emotional connection was there for the readers to cling on to the characters, to care about the story, whether or not it was completely structured perfectly, which authors should never shoot for perfection. It just needs to shoot for you being able to get your vision across. Some readers will love it, some readers won't. It just happens. But Audra's was just not subjectively done well. And that's the truth of it. And to me, her book read as somebody that does not read fantasy books. Because somebody that reads fantasy books knows not to do a bunch of info dumping. And at least knows to add some kind of stakes, high stakes at the beginning. Knows to add imagery, which is something that was just so drastically lacking in the book. Imagery. And that is the number one thing that you notice in fantasy novels right off the bat is the imagery of everything. So again, for her to be blaming everything outside of herself is just no. I'm not for that. I'm sorry. I cannot be empathetic to something like that. Because I'm the type of person that if I messed up, I will take accountability for it. Like, okay, I need to do something better. I need to work on myself. I need to do it. I acknowledge it. And then most of the people that were giving 1-star reviews, they were detailed in those reviews. My final thoughts on this is just that I don't truly believe that Audra is cut out for this industry in general. Because of just how she has received all the feedback. It's like she's also been refusing to work on her skill because somehow everybody else is the problem but her. And then one of the videos that she posted talking, her mentioning her mental health and how she was at a point where she wanted to basically herself because of this whole entire thing is basically what she said in that post. And to me, that's like, okay, so now are you trying to place the blame on your readers and your viewers for your mental health when that should be something that you should be responsible for? And people have been telling her to get off the internet if this is causing her mental health to decline. And there she is, still posting. And so like, okay, now you're posting and you should be expecting the comments at this point. Stop posting if your mental health is that bad. But I don't know. And then I don't know if y'all read the new revision. I've only read like the first page and it read better for sure. It did read better. At least some of the imagery's there, but it had a lot of purple prose in it that was not necessary. And purple prose can be beautiful if it's done right, but it had too much even in that first page. So we'll see how this goes.
I would say from what I took from reading the first chapter that she put up on Patreon, the revised version, it was definitely like a billion times better. I still don't think it's maybe up to par, and that's just my opinion because it still suffers from sort of info dumping. It's not as egregious as it was in the first edition, but there's still a lot of info dumping. And something I noticed when I was trying to rewrite my version, because I wrote my version without like looking at her one, so I read the whole thing and I was like, okay, let's write my one just from memory so it doesn't like, so I don't follow the exact same structure. In her version, you don't, like, I knew who the character was because of the fact that this book has already been out and I've read the description and all of that. If you went into this blind, you don't really know who the character is. Her name isn't said once. You don't have a strong idea of who she is, what she does, where she lives, who her family is. Like, you get a little hint of it, but it's not enough for a first chapter where the first parts are supposed to at least introduce you to the main character somewhat. Like, I'd at least like to know her name. That could just be an opinion on my part, but it just felt very strange. And again, I'm repeating myself, but I don't think the book should have started there. I think it could have been much stronger if it started somewhere else. Overall, this whole thing, I feel, is a culmination of several issues. And what I'm about to say may come off harsh, but I don't mean it to be. And like, at this point, this video obviously isn't for Audra. She's not going to watch this, and if for some reason she is, Audra, you should not be watching stuff about yourself. That is bad for your brain. Audra seems to me like somebody who is horrifically suffering from gifted child syndrome. It's obviously not a real disease, but that is something that I had a bit of, because I was a really smart kid, right? Like I'm not saying this to be like up my own ass. I was a really smart kid. So I'm coming at this from a place of understanding, and I've been there. A lot of gifted children, if you'd say that, people who are like, they're really good at stuff, they're really intelligent, they do so well at school, and they're like fantastic, and they're advanced at stuff for their age. I mean, like I told you guys earlier, I started speaking and reading and writing pretty early on. I read Jane Eyre when I was 9. I was writing stories from the time I was young. I did fantastically in school without trying. The problem is, for a lot of us, you stagnate at a certain point. You don't just keep going, and you're so used to being told like how smart you are, how great you are at this and that and the other, that in your brain you think that that's something that is just natural. It should just come to you, and you don't need to try. And so for a long time, I didn't try. I think it was when I got to my final 3 years of secondary school. So here, it's 6 years. I skipped 4th year. So it was actually maybe in final 2. I don't know. The stuff got harder, but to a degree where like you needed to be studying the material to understand what was going on. And I just didn't. So like I passed everything just on sheer, I don't know, I guess being smart, but like I didn't put in the work to do better than just passing things. And then later on in life, I just stagnated as well. Like I mentioned my first book that I wrote that I never had any intention of doing anything with, but it was awful because I didn't bother to learn how to write. Like, I stuck with that for a few years thinking of, well, like I'm just not good at stuff. Like I used to be smart, I'm just not good at stuff anymore. And then I started trying again. Now, I'm a few years older than Audra, so I've had a little bit more time to learn, hey, I'm not going to just be automatically good at things. I think I have maybe a bit more self-loathing than Audra does, so that I went straight from, oh, I'm great, to, oh, I'm awful. I think she still thinks she's fantastic at things because she's grown up being really smart and gifted and a prodigy, which she has called herself that, thinking she's a master of writing because she was good at a young age, but she's stagnated. She hasn't progressed beyond that. You need to recognize that you're not always going to be the greatest. You need to put in the work. So I myself, I don't even know what age I would have been when I finally like stopped being annoying. Maybe 25. So 24, 25, 26 even. I was like, okay, I actually do need to work on the stuff that I want to do. So I worked on the stuff that I wanted to do. I learnt, I practiced. I did things that were uncomfortable. I got feedback from people. I took criticism. I focused on my flaws and tried to fix them. I spent so much time relearning things about writing that I had never bothered to learn, because I had known a lot from before, but as I mentioned, I was mostly versed on short stories. I didn't know the structure of writing a book. I read books, but I didn't know the structure of writing one, and it's a whole different ballgame. You have to learn this stuff. So I learned and I practiced. I wrote more books, and then finally started writing my book now. I mean, I was writing books the whole time, but I was writing them just blind, like that first one. I wrote another sci-fi book, which I actually still like the concept of. I might get back to that one day. It was a sci-fi dystopian, but it was written terribly because I wasn't learning. So there were so many books in the interim that I wrote that were terrible, and then eventually I started writing books with the intention of, okay, I'm going to do this the right way. I'm going to learn like structure and like go back and edit and work on the plot and the character developments and the arcs and stuff, and it was better. So Audra still has time to do that, and this is not a case of me saying, oh, she's young, she'll learn. She is still responsible for the fact that she's not taking any accountability, and she's not accepting that she didn't do a good job. And I truly believe that's just because she was a gifted child. She was a prodigy, she was smart. And she has yet to learn that it's not automatically just all going to fall in her lap. She's not always going to just be great at things. She has to try. And sometimes she is bad at things. Right now, she can be as passionate as she wants about her world, and it's amazing that she's been able to put this world together, and I'm happy for her that she has something that brings her joy, and I would love for her to be able to share that with the world one day. But right now, she's a bad writer. And I don't say that to be mean, just factually she is. But you're not automatically a bad writer, and this is something the gifted child in your brain, in anyone's brain who was a former gifted child and is now not, needs to learn, is that you're not just automatically good at something or bad at something. You can work at that. You may be a bad writer now, but you can work on your skills, learn the craft, and become a good writer. My only concern with that is that I don't know that that's what she wants to do. Because she's really focused on being this entrepreneur, this businesswoman, the successful creator of an LLC. I truly think that she feels the world of Guardian is going to be the sort of thing that first has a book launch, has other kind of launches, maybe a video game, maybe a movie, a cartoon, or a TV series, something like that. And I think she thinks she's going to do that all herself, and it's going to be successful and amazing, and everyone's going to love it because she believes so much in this world she's created. But that is not in the cards right now because you started this with a book when you can't write. And that is just the truth of it. She had a lot of goodwill even after the book came out and it did terribly. People just wanted to see her succeed. People were giving her criticism. People were explaining why they didn't like the book. They were saying they just wanted her to fix it. Problem is, instead of just fixing it, she got defensive. She got annoyed. She got upset. She fought with people. Then she decided, okay, I'll revise it, but she put all this focus in the art, in creating a product rather than creating a book. And slowly but surely, people lost that goodwill, and now it's just not there anymore. This could have been a fantastic success story if she had paused, let the emotional reaction to the negative feedback, do its thing. Sometimes you just got to feel the feelings and let them pass. Felt that, and then gone, okay, the book's not good. Let me write a better book. Let me write a better book. It could still be in the world of Guardian, but let me write a better book. Learned her craft, not put a deadline on it, taken as much time as she needed, come back with a book. That would have been a success story. That would have gone viral. People would have bought that. But what she did instead was put another timeline, put more art, make it more expensive, keep calling herself an entrepreneur, talking about the business aspect of things, hiring a whole creative studio, trying to get angel investors, and just doing something that people just can't get behind. No matter how many sad, emotional tracks you put behind the story of it, people can't get behind that. People don't feel for that. People don't care. People don't want another businesswoman. They just wanted to read a good book. That's the sad reality of it. And I don't want to come across as harsh because I'm in this space. I've mentioned it a billion times already. I'm going to continue mentioning it because it is my baby. My debut novel comes out this year. I'm an indie author. It's a hard space to be in, and I don't want to feel like I'm putting other authors down, but she herself she's an entrepreneur, you know, and she's not taking the feedback. And I want to be able to uplift authors, and I still would love to see her succeed. I just don't see it happening with the mindset that she has right now, unfortunately. I also think, like I mentioned before, for indie authors, this has been very scary, and it has unfortunately negatively affected the indie writer space, because this situation has gotten a lot of attention, and now people are more hesitant to take a chance on an indie book, whereas a lot of people were already hesitant. So this has done a lot of damage, and I don't want to put that on Audra. Like, writing a bad book is not going to automatically damage the indie space, but unfortunately this particular situation has. So to that, I just want to say, please support indie authors. Please give an indie author a chance. Buy their book, read it on Kindle Unlimited, get the Kindle version, support them, just give it a chance. This is one of my favourite indie authors. Her name is Kate Schumacher. I first read her a couple of years ago when I read her book, The Call of the Sea, which is part of a series. It's a wonderful book. It was actually so good that I messaged her, and I felt really guilty about messaging her because I hate bothering people, but I just wanted to tell her in case she saw it and didn't mind me messaging her, hey, this is one of the best books I've read in a long time. I've had like a lot of bad books that I've read recently, unfortunately, and those weren't indie books, by the way, in case you're wondering. Those were, you know, big publishing names. But I'd read a lot of bad books, and I was like, this one was fantastic, and I listed all the reasons I loved it. I didn't even know that it was an Arthurian legend retelling, because I didn't know anything about the Arthurian legends. And I thought it was great. I read the next book, and now she has another book coming out that I am so excited for. Like, I'm genuinely so excited for. It's called The City of Smoke and Demons. It's a gaslamp fantasy. I am so excited for this book. Like, I am just waiting to get my grubby mitts on it. Comes out in November, same as mine. I don't know the exact date though. I don't know if she's posted it. But yeah, I genuinely love this author. So here's just one example of a really fantastic indie author you can check out. She also, to my knowledge, is writing a sci-fi book under a different name. I haven't looked into that yet, but if you just check out her socials, she's probably posted about it. You can find the information there if that's more your thing. Check her out. That's one example of an indie author. And I'm not using this situation to just talk about my book. I wouldn't have sat here for like 50 hours if it was just about that, but I do want to take this opportunity to talk about my own book, because this is a really scary it's a really scary path to take, and I have put my heart and soul into this book, and it's my very first release, and I want it to do well. I want people to read it, so you could also, you know, take a look at my book. My author website is linked in the description of all my videos, so it's in this description. It's evaalexandra.com. Alexandra is spelled with a KS and not an X, because that is how you spell my name. My book is part of what was formerly called the Marrow series, but I'm changing the series name for reasons. It's on the Kickstarter, to the Drowned God series, and the first book is called Bound by Blood and Sea. It's out November 16th. It is a dark fantasy novel which is loosely inspired by Irish mythology. Jesus, lads. I am Irish, if you didn't know, so that's why the Irish mythology. It's got LGBT characters, Marley Grey characters. The basic premise of it is that it's based on this island called Inishalta, which is off the coast of Ireland. And on that island live the Merrow, who are like shape-shifting mermaids. So they mostly live on land, but they can go in the water. And on one side is the Aes, who are sort of like the Fae. There has been a lot of tension between their peoples in the last couple of centuries, and Turin Branlock is the main character. She is part of a secret sect that only a few Merrow are in. Her mother is both the high priestess of that secret sect called the Order of the Drowned, and also the queen of the Merrow on Inishalta. So Turin Branlock is the heir to that, and she ends up in an arranged marriage to an Aes lord. However, gay things ensue. Anyway, that is just a short little description of parts of my book. I would love if you could check it out. I mentioned I have 700 pre-orders already, which is amazing. I'm so glad. I would love 7,800. That would be great. But obviously, with some of the things that have happened here, that could also go horribly wrong. So I thought if you guys would just give me a minute of your time, because I've been here so long, you might as well listen to me for another extra minute or two, right? I want to read you just a really short excerpt from my book so you can just get an idea of it, maybe. I picked a couple of random excerpts and it was kind of hard to figure out which one to read because I didn't want to give any spoilers. So that was hard to pick something that didn't have spoilers. I will be releasing chapter 1 of the book to my patrons and to my newsletter subscribers, but I won't be releasing chapter 1 until the ebook is ready for pre-order, which should be sometime this month, and when I send out the ARCs, which is the advanced review copies. So at some point chapter 1 will be up to read, so I didn't want to pick an excerpt from chapter 1, so I just picked a really short excerpt. I think this was from chapter 14. So it's a little bit random. So, okay. This is nerve-wracking, actually. I don't usually read my work for people, and I'm getting nervous, guys. I'm getting nervous. I'm scared, especially after seeing what happened to Audra. But, like, this is very necessary to let people know what they're getting into, especially, you know, given the situation. So, again, this is, like, the middle of something. This is random excerpt. It's not the whole chapter. It's just a little bit of it, okay? Okay, be nice to me. The morning currents ran cold through the kelp forests, and Turin's scales caught what little sunlight penetrated this steep, turning her flanks into shifting patterns of storm-dark blue and silver. Her mother swam ahead, tail cutting through the water like she owned it. Perhaps she did. The kelp parted before them, revealing glimpses of the deeper channels where crabs scuttled across the barnacle-crusted rocks, and schools of fish turned as one entity, flashing like coins. Orla's voice came through the water as vibration more than sound. Tell me of the Ace She-Guard. The question arrived wrapped in casual interest, but Turin knew better. Nothing her mother asked was ever casual. She adjusted her position, swimming slightly to the side to avoid the direct line of Orla's wake, buying herself a moment to think. Attain serves her function adequately. Such lukewarm praise. I expected more detail from someone who spent hours alone with her. Heat bloomed across Turin's spine, a faint rose flush spreading across her neck. For one reckless moment, the truth pressed against her teeth like a perm foiling around grit. She's strong in ways that have nothing to do with daggers she carries. When she held my wrists in that tower, when we fell together against the stone, I could feel her heartbeat through both our ribs. Her weakness might be that she sees too much, cares too much, stands too close when she thinks I'm not watching. But those words would be blood in the water, and her mother had too many teeth. What can you tell me of Attain's weaknesses? Orla was clearly losing her patience. Turin forced observations that were true but incomplete, facts scrubbed clean of their context. She favours her left side slightly when she's been standing for extended periods, an old injury perhaps, though she hides it well. The memory came unbidden. Attain shifting her weight in the tower, the subtle tell visible only because Turin had been watching so closely, cataloguing details she had no business noticing. In close quarters she relies on strength over speed, she said. In close quarters she smells of leather and rain and something green. But Turin swallowed that detail, let it sink unspoken. Continue, Orla commanded, banking around a massive boulder covered in anemone. Anemones that swayed like pink and orange flowers in the current. She maintains her equipment obsessively, checks the windows in patterns, north, east, south, west, then begins again. Predictable. Turin followed her mother's path, scales brushing against the soft polyps of a sea fan. When she's uncertain, her hand drifts to her weapon hilt, a tell that could be exploited. Turin thought to herself, when she's uncertain, a muscle jumps in her jaw, and her arms tense. She's protective beyond requirements of her position. It makes her predictable. Protective of you specifically, Orla's tone carried an edge now. Of her duty, she takes her orders from Lady Morven seriously. Turin felt the current change as they approached the deeper channels, colder water rising from below. Perhaps too seriously. It could be used against her. They swam in silence for a time, descending through the thermoclines that made Turin's scales prickle with the temperature changes. The kelp forest gave way to bare rock faces carved by centuries of current. The cave mouth loomed before them, a diagonal slash in the cliff face that looked like a wound from this angle. No light penetrated its depths, but Turn's eyes had already adjusted. They entered together, the current dying away to nothing in the cave's stillness. Here, sound worked differently, each movement creating echoes that mapped the space in ways her eyes couldn't. The cave opened into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness above, its floor a series of stepped ledges that descended towards the ritual pool at its heart. And there, arriving on the jagged stones like pieces of living coral, stood the Order Elders. 6 of them had aligned themselves in a circle, and Orla moved to join them. When she reached her spot in the centre, the elders' tails stilled, letting the water settle until it held the perfect clarity of ancient ice. Her mother gestured for her to join, and she did, though she'd never seen another Order member be invited into the circle of elders before. "We have some important matters to discuss." The vibrations of Orla's voice rippled outward. The 3rd trial, chosen by Alina Morven, fast approaches. The morning after the autumn equinox ceremony, Turn and Kaelin are to undergo the Truth Gate. Okay, there you go. That was very scary. That was very scary to do, but I obviously would like for you guys to know what you're getting into if you want to pre-order the book. So you can read a bit more about the book on my website. If you want to wait and see the first chapter when that is released, you can sign up to my newsletter, which is on my website as well. Or you can go ahead and you can pre-order the book if you want. Again, I would love 7,800 pre-orders. I feel like this video is going to flop because it's not my usual kind of content, but if you somehow are here because you don't know me and you're interested in this, then please subscribe. And if you are somebody who so happens to be here and you're like a bookstagrammer or a booktalker or booktuber and you would like an ARC copy of this book, please just reach out to me. You can contact me on Instagram or on the email address listed on my website. So either of those. Probably Instagram is the best way to go though, but if you'd like an ARC, let me know. I'd be happy to send one to you. So with that being said, thank you for staying and letting me read a little bit of my upcoming book. It was hard to do, and yeah, let me know what you think about this whole situation. It's just a mess. If you can't tell from the fact that this is such a long video, I have been really keeping up with this. Now, I did skim over some of the initial parts of the story just because I wanted to focus on what's going on now. One person who I saw a video about this who focused on like the whole timeline of the beginning of things was Meredith Novako. I'm not sure how you pronounce her name, but she did a really good job timelining the first parts of this. And then if you want to see a review of most of the full book, you can check out Reads with Rachel. I'll put both of those videos in the description so you can check them out. But for now, yeah, let me know what you think. Share this with somebody, like, comment, share. Follow me on social media. I'm VangelinaSkov everywhere. And don't forget to check out Midas Merge. The first 100 people to click the link in my description or to scan the QR code on screen and download Midas Merge for free will get an exclusive character in-game, a Mox Fox, personalized with my name. Thank you so much to them for sponsoring today's video. Thank you for watching today's video. And I just want to say, I know I was gone off the channel for a really long time. I'm still a little bit sick, but I'm better. And I hope this long video makes up for that, because this is, I think, the longest video that's ever gone on my channel. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!